Coming at you live from the nation's capital, it's the Dick Burns Show. I am your host, the conductor of chaos, the sentient ship host, yours truly. Wait, hold up, your camera is... Oh, I know why your camera's fucked up. I'm joined today with our good friend, Bobby Boomerang. How's it going, bud?
What's going on, man?
We have had this show in the planning for how many years now?
At least five.
At least 5. God damn, has it really been 5 already?
At least 5.
Holy shit. How long has it been since we came up with the title? I know that's been a minute.
I think that's been three years since we came up with the title.
Shit, had to have been. It was definitely while we were coworkers.
Yeah, it's definitely been longer than 2 years.
Definitely. So, welcome everyone. This is going to be our very first episode of Pigskins Pinfalls. We are here to bring you all the hottest news surrounding football, pro wrestling, and all other sports, and pretty much anything else that we want to talk about, because what the fuck else are we going to do? We're a bunch of shitheads that want to sit here and talk shit. Why not? Am I right?
I couldn't agree more.
So, I'll let you take it from here. You want to introduce yourself? You're new to the stream.
All right. Yeah, your boy Bobby Boomerang here, coming to you guys from down south in beautiful sunny South Florida. Rich and I have been friends for coming up on a decade now, and two things we really enjoy is football and wrestling. So what better than two people who haven't played organized sports in over 10 years sitting here talking shit about professionals?
You're not wrong. But in reality, it's just because of the fact that, like, we have spent so much time, like, every day, like when we were working together, or like even just like at the bar or whatnot, we're sitting here, like, we find ourselves, you are a huge football historian, I'm a huge pro wrestling historian. We have so much knowledge between the two, and the fact that the fandoms are consistently crossing over. We love to sit here so much. There's so much crossover. So we really just want to be able to take this opportunity to, like, hey, we have two different sports full of knowledge, full of things that are going on every day. If there's one thing that you see so much in common between the two fandoms, it's the fact that no matter what, on season, off season, there is always shit going down. So what better way to keep everybody involved than to get the two guys that do nothing but spend all their time keeping up with this shit, and just let us talk about it.
Yeah.
Everything from Royal Rumbles to running backs playing quarterback. Dude, when you hit me with that yesterday, I was just like, oh my god, it's perfect.
Yeah, I've been thinking about a couple ones for moving forward too. I think I got a good one for after the big game on Sunday. Not this Sunday. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl, but we'll talk about it.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because that's a great place to start out. How do we feel about the new Pro Bowl this year?
I mean, look, I will never shit on somebody trying something new.
Okay.
Right? Like, clearly the actual Pro Bowl game that we grew up with was not working.
It really wasn't.
I mean, that game was already a glorified flag football match anyway.
It really was. And especially because of the fact that they, like, especially in the early days, like in the original days where they had it after the Super Bowl, like, nobody cared at that point, because it's just like, oh, season's over. Now it's just like, oh, this is just a bunch of guys fucking around. It doesn't matter for anything. There were no stakes for anything. It was around, what was it, around like the 2000s when they finally made it to where, like, the winning team has home field. What's that?
Got money, right?
I don't know if it wasn't necessarily about the money, but it was like, wasn't it originally like the winning team had the rights to home field advantage during the Super Bowl for their conference? Wasn't that a thing?
Maybe. I don't recall that.
I feel like that was a thing at one point. I could be wrong, but I feel like that was a thing at one point where it was like the winning team, when it was still NFC versus AFC. Thank you for the lurk, Salty. When it was back in the day, what it was originally doing was, like, if the NFC won, then NFC would have the rights to being called home field advantage during the Super Bowl. Like, they had the uniform choice or whatever. That's what I remember it to be. I could be completely wrong, but, like, that's what I remembered it to be.
Let's find out here. I got the old Google machine fired up.
Right? It's not like we can't easily Google this. But, of course, now, like, while you look that up, for those that haven't been keeping up, what they're doing now with the Pro Bowl is kind of like a skills challenge. And honestly, like I loved. I think it was a couple years ago when they started doing this whole like skills challenge thing with like the different games and stuff. I'm honestly more than anything, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really excited for kick tac toe. I don't care what anyone says. I love kick tac toe. I love kick tac toe. Okay.
I
And it
mean,
helps that the first year that they did it, Graham Gano won as a
okay.
Panther. Okay,
Uh, I mean, all right. First, I'm looking here. I don't see anything about the Pro Bowl winner host or being the
I
host
could
of
have been
their Super
completely wrong
Bowl.
on that one.
Basically, honoring players that did well over the regular season.
Hmm.
But other than that, there is nothing at stake, is a direct quote from what I'm reading here. More money goes to the winner. I know it's not a whole hell of a lot. Plus, these guys are already millionaires anyway.
Right.
But hey,
Especially when
look,
you
money.
consider the fact that it's going to be nothing but the best players, so they're going to be the ones that have the highest contracts.
Well, well,
Usually.
usually, and I do enjoy the skills competition. I remember
Hmm.
growing up and when one year when Larry Allen, uh, Cowboy legend, did the strongman competition, and I think he bench pressed 225 pounds 43 times,
I remember that year. That was impressive.
which that's incredible. And then also, like, let's be real, man, who doesn't love the 40-yard dash?
Right. Like
Who doesn't want to watch Tyreek Hill line up next to Jalen Waddle and, I mean, take your pick on any Kansas City wide receiver, even though they won't be at the Pro Bowl this year, but
mhm.
line them up, run in a straight line, and see who's
But
fastest.
look at your other receivers that are probably going to be in that. Your Devontae's, your who else is your well not AJ Brown because he'll be playing. Who else will be out? Like who are some other
Diggs,
Diggs? Diggs will be in there for sure. Debo, put Debo in there.
Debo.
There's a lot of people that you can put into that. Absolutely. Um,
And the dodgeball game is cool, man, because, like, seeing grown men play a kid's game, I mean,
I
I'm
don't
here for it.
I don't care what anyone says. Dodgeball is still fun to watch. I wonder if the Dodgeball Twitch channel still follows me. I wonder if that's a thing. That was a thing. That was a thing at one point. I don't know if you can do anything about it, but Bobby is a little quiet. I could actually probably turn him up a little bit. Let me actually. Thank you for that, Jonesy. I wouldn't have ever noticed that his audio was still down. All right, go ahead and say something now.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, your audio is a lot better now.
doing better?
Yeah, I forgot to turn the audio back up on your end.
Hey, man.
It happens.
First time streaming together.
No,
This is
absolutely. This
we
we are
got the
still
bugs to
very
work
much
out.
like like even my microphone is cooperating today. Like the past week or so, it's been like kind of shifty, and now like my audio levels seem to be fine. Like we're doing good. We're doing good.
All right,
So,
all right.
on that note, actually, because we're sitting here talking about like the Pro Bowl is supposed to be all about um honoring your best players. And
Correct.
while we were getting ready, I was using the bathroom and I was looking at my phone, and I noticed a little something that crossed my feed. Tyler Huntley has been named to replace Josh Allen at the Pro Bowl.
Okay.
That
Congrats
reaction
to
is about
Tyler
as best
Huntley.
way as I can put it, but
Congrats to Tyler Huntley.
absolutely.
But you're gonna tell me we don't have another AFC quarterback that
He's not even the starting quarterback on his own team.
right,
And while he
right.
was the starting quarterback on his team, he didn't do that well.
No, no. And I mean, look, the Ravens were gonna go as far as Lamar was gonna take him.
Mhm.
So when he went down, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say their season went down because they did ultimately make the playoffs, and anything can happen once you get there on any given Sunday, like they say.
Mhm.
But would you happen to have the Pro Bowl roster available?
I don't, but I do actually have I have his stats pulled up for this year.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the roster.
Yeah, you pull up the roster. Tyler Huntley's stats as the backup quarterback this year. He has 653 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and 3 interceptions.
We're celebrating somebody who has a touchdown to interception ratio of 1 to 1 if you
Exactly.
include a rushing touchdown.
Exactly. That this is I'm sorry, but like I look at the other teams that are available for the AFC. Now apparently Mahomes is being replaced by Trevor Lawrence. So that's okay.
I'm all
That
right with
leaves
that.
us Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and I believe if this is right now, Tyler Huntley. Tua gets snubbed again.
Well, no. I did see that Tua still is in concussion protocol.
Okay, so that makes sense. But like,
Um, yeah, I mean,
there's so many better
what's
quarterbacks from the. What about Herbert?
okay? That's good.
What about Herbert?
I'm scrolling here through the AFC teams, and I'm thinking like maybe they did hit it on the nail with Tyler Huntley. But yeah, what about Herbert? Um,
Let's brainstorm some other teams in the AFC that could have done really good for that position.
well, it ain't gonna be Tennessee. It ain't gonna be Houston. Ain't gonna be Denver.
Shit, give me Mike White. I'd give Mike White over Tyler Huntley.
I would take Mike White over Tyler Huntley. I do agree with you there. Um, yeah, they're not going to give it to Derek Carr.
No, they won't give it to Carr. Um, they wouldn't. They damn sure won't give it to Wilson.
No, honestly, like
Did
Tyler
anybody
Huntley,
have a bigger fall from grace this season than Russell Wilson?
Zach Wilson.
No, he had to have had a grace to start out with.
True. I mean, but all the hype after what was going on at the beginning of the offseason with him banging his mom's friend and everything,
That's the
everybody
only
thought
hype you can get is you bang your mom's friend. He's
hey
basically a
man.
Blue Mountain State in the NFL. Tell me he's not Blue Mountain State.
Yeah, which is crazy because he went to BYU.
All the more reason.
He's Mormon Thad Castle. Is that what you're telling me?
He is. Well, no. What's the fucking quarterback's
Alex
name?
Moran.
Alex Moran. He is a modern day Alex Moran. 100%.
Yeah, but also I don't know, man, because like that comment during the season when they were like, "Do you feel like you let your defense down?" No,
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 no. He
bro.
removed
What?
himself of all responsibility. And I'm sorry, but like, as much as like I'm a diehard Carolina fan. For those of you that don't know, I defended Cam all those years where he's like, "Oh, it all lands on me. It all lands on me." Josh Allen's doing the same thing right now. It all lands on me. At the end of the day, it all lands on me. Well, then at some point, then if it lands on you, you got to stand up and do something about it. But
Correct.
at the same time, like you're putting in the effort. If Zach Wilson is going to go up here on a national stage, show his ass for a full game, honestly, multiple games in a row, and then go on stage and be like, "Not my fault."
Yeah, and dude, but like, okay, so you got to figure like in a locker room, there's so many different personalities, so many different players comes from so many different walks of life, right? Like you're never gonna meet two people that are exactly the same, especially in a locker room full of professional athletes. And NFL notoriously has the largest roster of any team or of any sport. I'm sorry. It takes a special man to walk up there and be like, "It is all on me." Leadership is a skill that you just have. It's not really something you can learn, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Either you have it or you don't. Which is why when that clip of Trevor Lawrence after the loss in the playoffs came out, that man instantly earned my respect. I don't know if you know which clip I'm
Yep,
talking about.
he sat there and stood at the doorway to the locker rooms and high fived
Turned
every single.
around.
What's that?
He got to the top of the tunnel, turned around,
And
and then hugged and dapped up every staff, coach, and player.
that's leadership.
That
100%
is
that's
leadership.
leadership. And
That is leadership.
And that's the thing is that
Personified.
when you're a quarterback in the NFL, leadership stands out above everything. You're expected to be the leader of that team. Like I know, like a lot of the time, like everyone always stigmatizes the quarterback being the head of the team, and it doesn't always have to be that way. But most of the
No,
time, like 98% of the time, your quarterback's going to be your captain,
correct.
and that's just if you're not showing the full um, the full spectrum of leadership that you should be showing for your team, then that reflects badly on you and the rest of your team.
Yep.
That's why so many quarterbacks like Allen, like Newton, like all those quarterbacks all throughout history that have been like, nah, this is on me. I should have done it better.
Yeah. And like you're saying, your quarterback's going to 90% of the time is going to be your captain. And like, not everybody's going to be that vocal rah rah type of dude. But as a quarterback, you do get a lot of the pressure. Sometimes justified, sometimes unjustified. But at the end of the day, like you are the guy that people you touch the ball every play. Whether it's a
Absolutely.
running play or a handoff or a deep bomb down the sideline, the ball is in your hand every play.
Hmm.
You know, and sure, you're going to have your defensive leaders, you're going to have your special teams captains and things like that. But after a game, who is the first person reporters walk up to interview?
Either the quarterback or the head coach. One of
Quarterback
the
or
two.
coach. That's right. That's right.
And even still,
So,
and honestly, if a head coach is doing the same thing, then he deserves to be fired even sooner.
yeah, yeah,
As we
yeah,
saw, let's not forget, I am still a Carolina fan, and we still had to deal with the first half of the year with Matt Rule, and that is
yeah.
a
So speaking of the Panthers, we can get into some of this NFL news and
sure.
um, some news and some rumors that we've got brewing around here. And this is not a rumor. This is 100% a fact. A hiring of Frank Reich as head coach for the Carolina
Oh
Panthers. Mr.
boy.
Burns,
Oh boy. All
how
right.
do you feel?
Okay, so I have been very, very public. Now, I said something about this on stream last week while we were playing Pokemon. I said specifically, and I don't know if I actually addressed this with you as well, but this is my thought process. I think Frank Harrick is a great hire. I think
Amen.
he has everything that it takes. I think he got a bad rap in Indy. He does still have a winning record. He does have a lot of ties to the team. I think he's still a great. I think he's still a great hire. That being said, all
Oh
of
boy.
that aside,
Oh boy.
this was the wrong
Is,
decision.
is this about Steve Wilkes?
This is entirely about Steve Wilkes. That man took a ragtag team, got rid of arguably two of his largest player and one of the other larger players that I was okay with. I was very vocal about we can get rid of Robbie Anderson. He was causing too much chatter on the sideline and wasn't putting up numbers. We sent him to Arizona. He did
Where
nothing.
he did nothing.
He did absolutely nothing. He was all talk. Honestly, no love lost there. No offense, but no love lost.
Greatest thing about him is his hair.
Absolutely. But us getting rid of CMC was a big, big,
Gut punch?
big move.
Gut
That
punch for you?
it was a horrible gut punch. I remember saying for the longest time that if CMC can stay healthy for an entire year, I'd buy a CMC jersey finally. And I'm overdue because like I don't have a single jersey for an active player right now.
You're gonna have to go get a Niners jersey now.
No, I made the joke about getting a Niners jersey, but
I
technically I
remember.
didn't because he did have one game he didn't play, so it falls through. It
Oh
does fall
man.
through.
Oh man.
That being said, well, no, I remember making that joke in the fantasy football chat halfway through the season. I was like, damn,
Yep.
I'm gonna have to buy a I'm gonna have to buy a McCaffrey Niners jersey now. But no, when it comes down to it, we got rid of McCaffrey, we got rid of Anderson. Our team was dead for rights this entire year.
Ooh.
We were dead for rights. We had no business doing anything. I was so sure this was going to be rebuilding. We've been rebuilding for years now, and I've been very vocal
Damn.
about that. Steve Wilkes came in, took the interim, and turned this team around just by changing the culture, making people believe, making people love, and did fucking amazing.
Oh yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. He put up a hell of a year in that run as the interim.
Yeah. Did
He
What
deserved.
was y'all's final record? Did you guys have a winning record?
No,
Or did you
no.
get eight
We
nine?
finished 8-9, I believe.
Which still, I
Still,
mean,
still, considering we started out what 1-6,
right.
like we came back from that. Honestly, I was having memories of the 2015 season or the 2014 season, I think it was, where we went, where we started out 1-7 and then came back 9-7 and then made it to the
Yep.
NFC Championship against Seattle. That's what I was reminded of, honestly. But that being said, I think, and I still firmly believe, that that was enough to earn Wilkes a solid 2-year prove-it contract. He did good enough to at least get a
Bro, prove yourself
a
contract.
prove yourself contract.
Prove yourself contract.
A prove yourself contract. Absolutely. Now,
Okay.
in addition to
Okay.
that, we have all of the news and media surrounding the court case, right? Like the questionable lawsuit right now against the NFL for
The Rooney
minority
Rule.
coaches that's
The Rooney Rule.
being led by Brian Flores, Steve Wilkes, Hugh Jack, all the other coaches that were like, "Oh no, there's a problem with hiring minority coaches." This had a giant, whether you like it or not, has a giant spotlight shown right on it.
Absolutely.
By them not hiring Wilkes, it was an instant, and going with Reich instead. I don't care if it was a merit based or whatever. That image is still out there. That image
Agreed.
of you passed up on a black coach that did wonders for your team last year and deserves to have a chance to prove himself.
I
You
agree.
replaced him with a white coach. Whether you
Look,
like it or not, the optics are there.
I agree, and I'm a big fan of, you know, best person gets the job. That's like if you're the best for the job, you get the job.
Yeah.
Having said that, Wilkes took essentially the Little Giants, bro. Like it was. I mean, we're talking like those first few weeks of the season. I truly believe Georgia probably could have beat y'all.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Like,
You know,
you could have taken the
like
Georgia football team and they could have wiped the
you
floor
could have
with
took
us.
the Georgia Bulldogs, line them up against the Panthers, and I think that game would have been a lot closer than most people think.
Nah, I don't think it would have been close. I think we would have gotten blown out. Straight up.
So, having said that, you know, you guys, you bring in well, bring in Wilkes, but Wilkes gets the interim. You know, get rid of Robbie, get rid of CMC, and like, you know, you walk into that locker room and you're like, who's left? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Cam ain't walking through that door. Steve Smith ain't walking through that door.
No.
You know,
Deontay
like
Foreman and Chuba Hubbard made names for themselves this year, especially Deontay.
yo, especially Deontay. That man single-handedly won me a couple fantasy football games.
There you go.
You know, and like, let's be real here, man. Like, who was taking snaps for the Panthers this year? It wasn't a Pro Bowl quarterback.
No. Honestly, like,
You had Baker, Darnold, an XFL quarterback who, hey, I'm going to give credit. You put some respect
let's
on
put some
PJ
respect on
Walker's
PJ
name.
Walker's name now.
Put
Hang
some
on.
respect on PJ Walker's name. He deserves it. But what I'm saying is you had find me a team that starts 3 quarterbacks in a year and does well. I mean, notwithstanding you
The
do
49ers.
have the 49ers this year. Yeah. Okay. All right. Look. And we saw what happened. We'll get into Brock Purdy and
We'll
his
get into
injury
this
here
weekend's
shortly.
games. We'll get into that.
But you also the caliber of quarterback play, not knowing who was going to start to week, and you still somehow come out with an 8-9 record. You give that man a full season.
Exactly.
Give that man a full season.
Give him at least a full season, 2 maybe, so that way you have time to build up your team.
Right.
Give him 2
Right.
years. Let him prove that he has what it takes to be a head coach in this league, because he proved it at least in the second half of this season.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Having said that, I think Frank Reich is the man. I think that he might be able to work some wonders with y'all.
Absolutely.
And, you know, as a fan, at this point, you can't dwell in the past. You got to move on to the future. And let's go Frank Reich.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I still love Frank Reich as a hire. I think that I'm willing to bet, I'm definitely willing to believe that, it's not a bet, it's a belief, that because it did come down to the 2 of them. And I think there may have just been something that Frank Reich brought to the table that Steve Wilkes couldn't. I believe
Experience, maybe?
experience, possibly the fact that he's already going into this, he had a plan. There's already rumors of him going through and picking out his staff. Like he came with the full package. And that probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, let's not discount Frank Reich. Let's not discount
all.
the fact that, like, he earned that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
just, again, the optics were there, and I feel
Optics
like
are bad.
the optics are bad, and because of that, and this is where it comes into it, the social acceptance of that, there's going to be that dark cloud hanging over it. It's going to become a distraction. It will become a distraction over the season, and it will become something that we're going to have to combat while still combating rebuilding this team. And I feel like, and this was my argument as well, was that by hiring Wilkes, you could have had the social the social acceptance of that, that does a lot for culture, and that's what inevitably made Wilkes his money was the when he was interim was the fact that he changed the culture. If
Yeah.
you can do a lot with changing a culture around a team entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Bills, look at the Chiefs,
Yep.
look at
Yep.
dare I say it, look at the Browns.
Oh, well, ooh,
I
you
know.
can't.
Well, no, okay.
No, I
Hang
have a
on.
better
Look,
example for you. I have a better example for you. Look at the Jags.
yes. Okay,
Look,
much better example. Much better
look what
example. I was
happens
going
when
with the whole like shitty team coming back. Browns are going back into shitty team territory with
well,
Brooklyn
not only
Cleveland.
that, but they have Deshaun Watson on their team. That's a whole nother conversation for probably a whole other day.
Good old
But
Groper
look at,
Cleveland.
oh, come on. Duh. You don't do our former president like that. Put some respect
Hey,
on
I
that
didn't come
president's
up with
name.
that one. I didn't come up with that one. I
Oh,
just heard it online and I thought it was hilarious, and I was just like, all right,
all
no,
right.
I'm stealing that.
But excuse me. But take a look at Jacksonville, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have Urban Meyer, who stinks. Stinks.
This
He's
year
not a good
proved
NFL head coach.
this year proved that Urban Meyer was
The problem.
definitely not deserving of that job. And
Hell
what Doug
no.
Peterson did to come in and change the culture around that team, absolutely beautiful. And of course, we're
Look,
gonna have a lot of loves for the Jags around here, them being so well tied to AEW. So
that's true.
we're gonna
This
have
is
our love
true.
for them.
And look, I mean, yes, they have Doug Peterson, who looks like football guy Fieri, but
Yeah,
that man did an incredible job this season.
absolutely.
Despite his hair poking out of his visor, and I can't stand his face because he coached the Eagles, I will give credit where credit's due. And Jacksonville was, I mean,
They
they
were a
played
fun
well.
team to watch.
They were a fun team to watch. Um, you know, and I do think that Carolina needed the culture change, and I do think that you guys have a couple of pieces in place that you're going to need moving forward. I think you're a couple of years away from making a serious run in the playoffs,
Hmm.
but if you're a player that just played your heart out for this 2022 season with Wilkes and now he's gone, how are you feeling?
Oh man, that's
You know,
definitely like
like that's got to be a gut punch to some of those guys that played their heart out. And like, I mean, think of it like, look at PJ Walker.
mhm,
PJ Walker was like, man, this man gave me a chance.
absolutely.
Everybody wrote me off. Everybody said I was just an XFL quarterback. I'm here just to fill in. I'm
Hmm.
not going to actually get any real playing time. And that man won games.
Oh, absolutely.
He didn't just come in and take a knee, you know.
Hmm.
And
He could have tanked the team.
hey,
We could
they
have.
did not do what the 49ers did this weekend and put him in there just to hand the ball off. They
or
let
what
that man
or what the Cowboys
throw the
did
ball.
last week and put Zeke in as the only offensive lineman.
Look,
I'm sorry,
look,
I had to. You're taking digs
look.
on my team. I got to take digs on yours.
We were going to transition to the Cowboys here shortly, but I think you just went ahead and did that for me. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I am a massive Dallas Cowboys fan. Sure,
Actually,
people are going to love
so
that.
let's go into because we're talking about the coaching changes around here, and I actually wanted to say that as well. There's nothing that says that Steve Wilkes won't get a head coaching job somewhere else as well.
Correct.
He's still in the running in a lot of places. I think that could still go well. Now let's talk about
Correct.
another coaching. Let's take that segue. Let's talk about another coaching change that we've experienced this week. We
Correct.
saw an immediate dismissal. Not dismissal. What was it? Sunday. We saw that the Cowboys and Kellen Moore decided to part ways. 24 mutually. It was completely mutual. And then 24
What is
hours
that?
later, Kellen Moore
Got
is
my own
now
thoughts.
the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Love it. Perfect fit. You know why?
Great fit.
You know why? Because Chargers are known for choking.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen Moore is known for choking and calling the wrong play at the wrong time. So now, what happens when you put two negatives together? It becomes a positive. This is going to work out beautifully for the Chargers. I think they just found their long-term OC.
Remind me in 6 months. 6 months to a year. So
Chargers fans, when it is 4th and 9 and you got Kellen Moore running 7-yard curl routes, just know that I lived that. Just know that I lived that, and I will know what that feels like for you.
see, we already had enough. for the longest time, especially while I was in the military and I was living in San Diego, the Chargers were my second team because they were the local team and I still supported them. And that was hard enough because that was the 2009 2010 time frame where
Oh, with
they were.
LT.
Yeah, with LT, not just that, but they were the number one offense, the number one defense, and because of special teams, they didn't even make it to the playoffs.
It's incredible. That was one of my favorite stats of all time.
It-
It is literally one of my favorite stats
I
of all
remember
time.
sitting, watching the playoffs, and like just in awestruck with like everybody. Like we're literally this is while I'm living in San Diego, and I'm sitting after church one day, and everyone there is a big Chargers fans. We're all in San Diego, and we're all out to lunch after church, and we're watching the game, and everyone's heart just sinking as we miss kick after kick after kick. And it was just, I remember it was just such a heartbreak. We were actually having a pool party that day, even, and we were too busy focused on the game.
Shocker, a pool party in San Diego. Who would have thought?
I know, right?
So, I like the Chargers offense. I think they've got
I like
a
Justin
hell
Herbert.
of a core. Hell of a core.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got Herbert, who can throw the ball a mile. You got Austin Eckler, who
Number one running back in fantasy this year. I
that
called that.
man busts his ass.
I
He worked so
called
hard.
that. Let's go back to that actually, real quick, just for a moment. Did I not say during our draft at the beginning of the year, did I not say that Austin Eckler would be the number one running back in fantasy this year?
You did. And,
Because
and
Kevin got the pick right before me, and he took Eckler, and I was like, "You son of a bitch! I wanted him." I had
Yeah, I
Eckler in
mean-
my other league, and Eckler almost won me everything.
from a fantasy standpoint, Austin Eckler and Josh Jacobs had an incredible season.
Absolutely,
Incredible season.
Josh Jacobs
You know?
deserves his flowers, especially because a lot of people were writing him off at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. But sticking with the Chargers, man, like they have that core, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got Herbert, they've got Eckler, they've got Mike Williams, they've got Keenan Allen, they've got Palmer, who he came into his own this year.
God, yeah.
That was another solid player who you know with all the injuries to Keenan Allen and to Mike Williams, Palmer stepped up big.
Absolutely.
You know. And I mean, don't forget their tight end is Gerald Everett.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got some skill players and they've got some guys that can move the ball downfield.
Gerald Everett won a ring with the Rams, did he not?
Yes.
I think this
Yes.
is his first year with the Chargers this year. I think
I
he won.
believe so.
I think he won a ring with the Rams last year.
I believe so. But you know, having said that, man, like Kellen Moore and his playbook and his play calling just blows my mind sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't get it, man. Like I said, you know, it's 4th and 9 and you got people running curl routes. Like what are we and not just one player running a curl route. Like there's a clip of all 4 of our receivers running to the sticks and turning around. And like if you look, there's a straight line across of players that just ran curl routes and they're all a yard short of the first down.
It's-
like what are you doing here?
At
What
the
are you
very
doing
least,
here?
wait to cut that curl until you're past the
That's
first
what
down
I'm
line.
saying. You know, like that, and then like you've got one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, and Tony Pollard, and we're not getting him the ball. You have Kevontae Turpin, who is going to the Pro Bowl for being a kick returner. Why are we not using him on offense? Why are we not running jet sweeps and bubble screens with this guy who, when he gets the ball and has open space, can make something happen? Like what are you doing here? You know, and then like, oh, James Washington, and yes, I know he broke his foot and he was out. He ended up not even playing, and he's already out of Dallas.
I completely forgot that James Washington had even signed to you guys.
Right, and then you go, oh, we draft this guy, Jalen Tolbert. He's going to be the man. He's going to be the man. Bro didn't even play the first 3 weeks of the season, and we're not getting any news on why. Is he not learning the playbook? Is the playbook too complicated? Like what? Like. I don't know if Mike McCarthy calling plays is the answer.
I've never
You
been a
know?
fan of Mike McCarthy. I've been on record of saying that. I didn't like him when he was in Green Bay. I don't like him as being the head coach in Dallas right now. I don't think he's a good fit there either. In the first place, I think I remember telling you when he first got hired there. I don't think he's a good fit.
Jerry Jones surrounds himself with yes men.
Absolutely.
You know why Sean Payton isn't in Dallas? Because Jerry doesn't want to have to deal with the headache of somebody telling him no.
Absolutely.
I firmly believe that.
I can completely see that. I think that's a very
Because-
fair argument.
Kellen Moore played with Dallas. Jerry Jones gave that man an opportunity in the NFL. and now he's giving him an opportunity to be offensive coordinator. You think Kellen Moore is standing up to Jerry Jones? Because he's not.
Of course
he's not. And Mike McCarthy, if Jerry Jones makes a decision that Mike McCarthy doesn't like, Jerry Jones is just going to dangle a cheeseburger in front of his face and he'll be, oh, okay, that's fine. I mean,
what are we, Andy Reid?
I think Mike McCarthy and Andy Reid at a Nathan's hot dog eating competition is
they'd be asking. I think they would be too busy arguing about where the cheeseburgers are. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about this weekend's games.
Okay.
We've spent a good amount of time on this coaching carousel. Let's talk about this weekend's games because we had the conference championships this weekend. I think. So let's start with the Eagles and Niners. Now, this was
31-7 dismantling.
Now, I feel what this really comes down to was the fact that Brock Purdy went out so early in the game. Had Brock Purdy not gone out in the first quarter, that game could have gone so much differently.
I agree. If I were to tell you that Brock Purdy started and ended the game, had 0 incompletions, but the Niners lost by 24, you would call me a liar.
Absolutely.
If
anything, based on the merit of San Francisco's defense, because at the end of the day, this season was when it comes to San Francisco, their defense was what put them into the playoffs. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Yep. And straight up, that defense is what had me on the Niners train for so long. Now, you got my boy CMC, and I still think that was probably the trade of the century. But
century?
Yes.
Century?
Yes.
Trade of the year. I'll give you that.
Trade of the century.
Trade of the year.
Name a trade that has happened since 2000 that has been more impactful than this.
Randy Moss to the Patriots.
He was going to be impactful no matter where he went. And at the same time...
That's not true. He sucked at Oakland.
Okay, that's also true. But at the same time, him going to the Patriots, he's still being buoyed by everybody else on that team.
Also, that was not a mid-season trade. So, look, I'll give you that.
Trade, yeah.
I'll give you that from now. But...
when it comes to mid-season trades, this is going to be up there. Like,
I'll give you that.
Especially when you consider how much value. So, this is my big argument because, of course, this is our first episode. We haven't had a chance to talk about this on the air. When we traded away McCaffrey, we got a fuck ton of picks out of that, and a fuck ton of high-ranking picks.
Yep.
Worth
every penny.
Absolutely, worth every penny. Because if anything, we've seen what can be done with a lot of picks. With what Miami is doing from their trade.
Yep.
That is purely like they made all that happen.
Got to draft well though.
Speaking
Doesn't matter how many picks you have if you can't hit in the draft.
Yep. Jones Nader says, speaking of defense, I just want to say I miss Luke Kuechly. You and me both, brother. You and me both.
Oh man. Yo. Kuechly was the man.
So
back into this championship game.
Yes.
Right? Brock Purdy goes 4 for 4. That's why he didn't have any incompletions. Mm-hmm. And after that man got hurt, they bring in Josh Johnson. Who?
The man's been on every team known to man.
Literally, bro. I think he's been on something like 18 professional teams if we go outside of the NFL.
Yeah, I remember looking some... Oh, we got a raid? Hold the fucking phone? What is going on? Zaydon with the raid. Also, my raid overlay is like jacked up. What's going on, everybody? Hang on just a second. Let's bring this in real quick. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Dick Burns Show. I am your host, the conductor of Chaos, a sentient shitpost. I'm a variety streamer from DC. I'm a Marine veteran. I am a karaoke DJ and an event promoter. We are football and wrestling fans around here. And, this is wrong because we beat The Last of Us. And we're actually football and wrestling fans. You're here for the perfect time. We are here with the debut episode of Pigskins and Pinfalls with our good host, Bobby Boomerang.
What's up, everybody?
We are here. Zaydon, how was your stream? How's everything going? What were you playing? Let me give you a shout out real quick. Go ahead. So we are currently talking about this week's conference championship games. So let's discuss this whole move with bringing Josh Johnson in. So he had, what was it? 18 teams that he's
I
been
do
on since then.
I do believe he has been on 18 professional football clubs. If you are including other leagues such as
Yeah,
the XFL, USFL, things like that,
I think he would
right?
also play for the CFL. I could
I
be
believe
wrong.
he's look journeyman quarterback, point blank,
Here
period.
we go. I've got
You
it
know,
pulled up. We're gonna name this off just because it's fucking hilarious.
oh boy,
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and name this one off. From 2008 to 2011, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2012, the Niners, the Sacramento Mountain Lions, the Cleveland Browns.
who doesn't
13,
love the Sacramento Mountain Lions?
right? In 2013 was the Bengals. 14 was back to the Niners. The Bengals in 15. The Jets in 15. The Colts in 15. The Bills in 15. The Ravens and the Giants in 16. The Texans in 17. The Raiders and the Redskins in 18. The San
Ooh.
Diego Fleet in 2019, as well as the Detroit Lions, where he was on the practice squad. In 2020 was the Los Angeles Wildcats, and then back to the Niners, where he stayed until 2021 and then got dropped. Went to the Jets, then the Ravens, and then last year he started out with the Broncos and then came back to the Niners.
Hey, good for him for finding work. Good for him for pursuing his dream. I won't shit on that.
I will not shit on that at all. That's a hell of a list. That man
Absolutely.
has
Having
been
said that, that man came in and
was not ready.
those Eagles front seven feasted on that man.
They were not ready.
Feasted on that man. And then what happened to him?
He
gets
got a
sacked,
concussion. He got knocked
goes
out.
goes down with a concussion.
Now
So
that
now we're
brought
all
us.
sitting here. Broadcast lets us know the emergency quarterback for the 49ers is Christian McCaffrey, who, let's all remember, had already thrown a touchdown pass this season with the Niners.
Yeah, on his first game.
He had that trifecta game, that rushing, receiving, and passing touchdown.
Yep.
So, and then they let Brock Purdy, I believe it was on third down, they let Brock Purdy come in, run the ball with CMC, and punt the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
Which I completely understand that. Look, let's give our defense, and I believe at this point the game was still within reach.
Yeah, I think it was at the time.
I
It was
believe the game
still.
was
I
still
want to say it was
within
21-7 at the time.
You know, and 14 points is doable in the NFL, especially in the playoffs.
Especially with what we just saw out of Jacksonville a couple weeks ago against LA. Like anything is possible.
And that Niners offense is loaded with weapons. You got Debo, you got Ayuk, you got Kittle, you got CMC. Like, there's some studs out there on that offense. So, you know, I don't hate that decision. Look, let's punt the ball, let's regroup, let's think about how we're going to move forward with this. You know, and then they get back on offense and they send out Brock Purdy. And I remember in our group chat, you and I were discussing, like, what, is he hurt? You know, is he hurt, or can this man go out there and sling the rock?
Yeah,
Because
and
they're showing 14.
They're showing the
Down 14.
videos of him on the sideline with a giant ice pack covering his entire arm. So as it turns out, we didn't mention it. He tore his UCL, which is
UCL requires surgery, 6-month rehabilitation time.
yeah. So it's kind of like the same as like tearing your ACL or MCL in your knee, only it's in your elbow. So that's still some like as somebody that recently sprained his MCL, just a sprain on an MCL, it's fucking painful. That shit had me bedridden for 2 days.
Well, a sprain is a minor tear.
Yeah, it's still a minor tear, but that's still like that's enough to like sideline you for a bit. So the fact that he still like iced himself up and got back in that game to end it out because they didn't want to put that pressure on McCaffrey, like that's takes some balls.
Yeah, so I agree with that, but at the same time, look, you are in the NFC Championship game. You go out there and you win that game.
Absolutely.
And you're going to sit here and tell me your best chance at winning that game was having Brock hand it off 20 times to end the game?
Absolutely not. That's what it comes down to.
Let that man go out there and make some plays. You line up in the Wildcat offense and you give him an opportunity to make some plays. McCaffrey is the most dynamic player in the NFL right now on offense.
Absolutely.
You put the ball in that man's hands and let him try and make something happen.
He may be the most dynamic player in the NFL right now.
Say what?
He may be the most dynamic player in the NFL right now.
I said what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Like you put the ball in his hands and you let him go out there and try to make something happen.
Absolutely.
You know, look, they let him throw the ball once and he bombed it downfield. I don't think anybody was even in the area code, let alone within 5 yards of that ball. But I still don't think that that's enough for you to completely abandon your passing game.
Absolutely not. No way.
And that defense, like we've already discussed, that defense was nasty all year.
It really was.
You
Like,
know?
as much as we wanted to say it, we knew that the Eagles were the most complete team in the NFC this year. Entirely. We can hate it as much as we want. There is no denying the fact that they were the most complete team in the NFC, possibly in the entire league this year. And it was their league to lose. Like, normally.
Credit to Philly, man. Look, credit to Philly. They came out, they had a game plan, they executed it. It does suck that Brock went down. Like I would have loved to have seen that game full strength versus full strength.
Round of applause to the entire Niners season this year. That was just a masterclass. The fact that Brock Purdy came in and did everything that he did as Mr. Irrelevant, made himself relevant. Legitimately, that's saying something. Now, those of you that remember when I did my Super Bowl predictions last week or the week before, whenever it was, before the playoffs started, I had actually said that I liked Brock Purdy to move as far as the Super Bowl, but I didn't think he was going to win it simply because of the fact that no rookie has ever made it to the Super Bowl and won. So that rookie experience was definitely going to come into factor at some point. It was just a question of how soon. And it didn't help that the injury
that is the Philly Eagles.
Yeah, and it also doesn't help that the injury really played a huge factor in that. I think if he had stayed healthy, they had a better chance. But again, what can you do? That being said, it was unfortunate that we are stuck with the Eagles again. Let's move on to the Chiefs-Bengals. How do you feel about this game?
Oh, real quick before we do that, and we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. I just want your opinion. Two-part question.
Okay.
Who's the starting quarterback in San Fran next year? And if it is not Purdy, where does he end up?
Oh man, I think. Okay, here's what I think, and I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago. I think at the start of next season, we're going to have a playoff for that. We're going to have a competition in camp between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. I think Jimmy G is gone. That they saved him the 1 year. They managed to get that deal done for the year. He came in handy where it was necessary. He ended up getting hurt, so it really doesn't make a difference. I think Jimmy G still did enough to prove that he has somewhere else to go and can do wonders. I think he definitely made his money's worth to get another contract from another team that may need him. But it's going to come down to Lance and Purdy and how they play in how they play in camp to see who takes it, because there's still all that mystique around Trey Lance, but he can't stay healthy long enough for us to show it.
You don't spend a first-round pick on somebody and then kick him to the curb.
No.
First-round picks get way more chances
unless they can't stay healthy for a full season like we have been seeing out of Trey Lance, which is a little bit concerning. That being said,
so hard agree with what you said. Hard agree. I think Jimmy G's gone. I think we got Trey Lance and Brock Purdy staying in the Bay. And I do think that they're going to give the reins to Trey Lance one more time. But I also think that after what Brock did this season, it makes it a little bit easier to pull Trey Lance if he starts shit in the bed.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to put it.
So, all right, moving on.
So let's go to the Chiefs-Bengals.
I'm ready to talk about this, let me tell you.
Honestly, you're going to be leading a lot of this one. I hate to say it, I fell asleep during the second half.
Oh, my God.
I know, and the second half was the good part.
Oh, my God, this guy, yo. All right, so...
It was unintentional.
Whatever.
I woke up in time to see the ending.
Chiefs-Bengals, 23-20.
27-20. Wasn't it? No, it was 23-20. You're right.
20,
You're right.
I want to go ahead and preface this by saying I do not believe NFL games are rigged.
I don't believe so either.
However, the officiating in that game is god-awful.
The entire league this year, especially the second half of this year.
Correct, but this game in particular was absolutely insane, and the NFL should be ashamed and embarrassed, and those referees need some type of punishment.
No, absolutely. This has been an ongoing discussion now the entirety of the playoffs, is this intangible mismatch that we're having with the refereeing
Zero
staff.
consistency.
Zero
Zero
consistency.
consistency.
Blown calls left and right. And we saw
You
that.
make a call for one team that you're not making for another team. We all
Mhm.
know how that game ends, right? Mahomes scrambles out to the right. He's going to step out of bounds, and that Bengals linebacker pushes him out of bounds late. They throw the flag. Look, bonehead play. That man played his ass off the entire game, and he made a mistake late at the game. His legs are tired. His body's tired. His mind's probably tired. I'm not going to fault him, and you don't win or lose a game on one play.
Absolutely.
Having said that, he made a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair that all these people are jumping up on him.
Did you
I've
see the
read
video
some
of his
things.
teammate like
Love
berating him
that.
going into the locker room?
Oh, that video I don't love. The video I do love is the teammate that stood next to him in the locker room while he's being interviewed. This man is crying on camera, and he's got his teammate standing right here.
Hmm.
And he's like, that man played his tail off all game. Y'all gonna trip over one play? Like, come on. That could have been anybody that made the
That I
mistake.
love. The
Yeah,
other
that
one
I
though,
love.
that was like his when they
Don't
were
touch the
going back
fucking
into the locker
quarterback.
room. He's like, "What the fuck were you doing? Why did you
Don't
touch
touch the
him?"
fucking quarterback. Yeah, but let's not forget, a few drives before that, Joe Burrow throws the ball. The ball is gone.
Hmm.
And Chiefs linebacker comes up, and I'm not sitting here saying he drills him. There was no force to it, but he pushed Burrow. The
Hmm.
ball was gone. Burrow is no longer involved in the play, and they shove him, and Burrow ends up on the ground.
Hmm. Now,
Where's the flag? Where's
now,
the flag?
obviously, when any of these arguments come into play, when there's any question of like biased officiating or just blown officiating in general, and it always comes into the discussion of is it rigged? Obviously, I believe it's not. I think that blown calls are still going to be blown calls no matter what. It's just a
It's human
matter,
error.
yeah. It's a matter of like what can you do to work around the blown calls. I
So I mean, is instant replay the answer? Is an independent booth that is in New York and they can review the calls in real time the answer? Look, I don't know.
oh,
Somebody
I
that gets paid way more money than me, that's way above my pay grade, is coming up with some ideas. They better be.
no,
Having
absolutely.
said that, having said that, we had a hell of a football game Sunday
No,
night. Hell of
absolutely.
a football game. And if you're a football fan watching Burrow versus Mahomes, just think, ladies and gentlemen, we get that matchup for another 10 years.
Yeah, they're still young enough.
Barring
We're going to be seeing that a
barring
lot.
anything bad happening to either one of them. That is, I think Burrow and Mahomes has the makings of Brady and Manning.
Absolutely. I
You know,
remember who was it? Actually, no. I remember having this discussion the other day. I remember who I was talking to, but I genuinely believe that Josh Allen is the next Peyton Manning. In that he will have
it
an
was me. You were talking about this with me. It
yeah, he will
was
have a.
Saturday during the Rumble stream.
You're right. It was it, and so the reason I say this is because he's going to have statistics after statistics after statistics showing that he is an
Godlike numbers.
amazing quarterback. But there's just going to be all sorts of other reasons why he won't have that many rings.
Look, so here's the way I like to think of it. I think that we've got. Now I agree with you. I think he's going to get the stats. I don't see him getting a whole bunch of rings, but I think that I think the best analogy I can come up with is right now we've got Mahomes and Burrow, which is Peyton and Brady,
Hmm.
right? You've got Josh Allen, who's Phillip Rivers,
Ooh, ooh, that's a very
perennial
fair argument.
perennial good team, perennial playoff maker. However, you just happen to be playing in the league as two of the best all time.
No, that's a very fair. I was gonna say Big Ben, but okay.
That's enough. I mean, you could argue that because I do think Josh is going to get a ring. I
I
think
think so
Josh will get
too.
a ring. I think Josh will
I think
get
he's
a
gonna
ring.
inevitably lead the Bills to their first ring
I think so too.
at some
I,
point.
I, I think so. Or I think that if he doesn't do it with Buffalo, he'll do it with somebody else.
Oh, I agree. I think
I
he definitely has a ring before the end of his career, and he
I
deserves
agree.
it.
All three of them. Well, Mahomes already has his ring.
Hmm.
Mahomes already has his ring, but I think Burrow and Allen get theirs too.
Absolutely.
The
And that's
talent
the
in the
thing too. We're
AFC right
finally
now.
getting so and we've seen it, I'd say maybe over the past 2, 3 years, we're finally starting to see the shift in quarterbacks that we've been
Yeah.
dreaming of for years now. Because
Well, for people our age, since we were kids,
oh,
man,
absolutely. Because at the very
Brady's been
least,
a quarterback in the NFL since I was in middle school.
what
I'm
was
an
it?
adult with a child now.
I saw a statistic. It was like every year between now and like 2017, we've either had Tom Brady or um, what was it, Tom Brady or the Jags in the AFC Championship, one or the other each year.
How's this for you? This is the first year since I believe 2003, that the conference championship weekend did not have Brady, a Manning, a Rodgers, or a Roethlisberger in it.
Yep, that was the other one. So like we see all these big name quarterbacks that have been ruling the league all decade long, all century long at this point. And we're finally starting to see that shift where these quarterbacks aren't the center of focus anymore. A great
These young guys are coming up.
A great example of this was our fantasy football league this year. I drafted Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers practically shit the bed the first half of the year.
Yeah. I had him in my other league, and I ended up starting Geno Smith over Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, but Geno Smith turned out to be a star this year. So
hey, he balled out, man. They wrote him off. And he
man's
right
balled
back.
out. Does Geno Smith start for the Seattle Seahawks next year?
Yeah, but let's focus. Let's stay on the Chiefs Bengals game.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs jumped out to an early lead, you know, and it looked like Cincy couldn't get anything going. Then they get the ball right before halftime, and they go down and they drive down the field and they score. And like I think that was kind of like a turning point where Cincinnati was like, all right, like yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing this. And then we get late to the fourth quarter, game's tied up. Cincinnati throws an interception to Kansas City. That Bengals defense comes up big, forces a stop, punts the ball, and they get the ball back. They've got to drive down the field.
I saw that actually. It was like they Burrow got picked off 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
And the defense still held out to the point where Patrick Mahomes couldn't convert either of those interceptions into points. So they did stand up to that very well.
Right.
It was a hell of a fight.
So then Kansas City gets the ball back, and we've got a 3rd and 4 play. They're deep, backed up deep. They got we have a 3rd and 4 play. They throw the ball to, I believe, Kelsey. Kelsey gets stopped short. Punt unit comes on. Okay? The punter is on the field. Punt return man for the Bengals is on the field. Out of nowhere, we get a whistle. Play's blown dead. Everybody's like, oh, somebody must have called a timeout. Then it comes out, no. A ref blew the whistle during that 3rd down play, and nobody heard it, and now we're going to redo 3rd down. So, again, I do not think games are rigged, but the officiating, you cannot give the Chiefs a free play.
No, especially not in the playoffs. You cannot have these mistakes in the playoffs.
What? Patrick Mahomes has 3 career games where he has won the game with less than a minute left on the clock. No other quarterback, playoff games. 3 playoff wins where he has won the game with less than a minute on the clock. No other quarterback has more than 1. Leaving Patrick Mahomes with anything.
You gotta leave. You can leave him 20 seconds and he'll make it work. Especially when all they need is a field goal.
Right. And you have Harrison Butker with a cannon for a leg. So, they blow the play dead. They say, we're going to redo 3rd down. The Bengals head coach, man, he was losing it on the sideline. As anybody would.
Oh, absolutely.
As anybody would. He's going crazy. Throwing his headset, screaming, all this and that, blah, 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 blah. Kansas City ultimately does what Kansas City does, converts the 1st down, gets the ball moving, and then we know what happens a couple plays later. Mahomes rolls out, gets shoved out of bounds, 15 yards, boom, field goal to win it. An NFL game is not won or lost on one play. It's a culmination of 60 minutes of football. It's a culmination of your players, your coaches, your game plan. It's all of that. The officiating has to have some type of responsibility.
It's got to.
There needs to be something in check to keep these refs from like, that's a robbery to us as fans.
And I know
it's a robbery to us.
I know you feel everything when it comes to officiating ruining playoffs games. All I have to say is 3 words. Dez caught it.
Yeah, he did.
Like, that's all I have to say. Like,
I literally just got chills. Literally just got chills when you said that.
you would.
Literally.
You would.
Because he did catch it.
Oh, he absolutely did. But that's years.
Thank you.
That's years
Thank
ago.
you.
We've already that ship has already sailed. Dez ain't even in the league no
Still
more.
real to me, damn it.
It's still real to me, damn. So, one thing. So, what this leads to, though, and this is another fun statistic. This is the first Super Bowl in history with 2 starting black quarterbacks. How do you feel about that?
Love it, man. Love it. I think that, you got to give credit to Doug Williams on those old school Washington teams for name redacted. He pioneered this for them, and I mean, you go back in the NFL history, you look at guys like Warren Moon, and I think it's awesome, and
I think it just blows my mind because he is the first. Like, you look at so many historic black quarterbacks that have made it to the Super Bowl, won Super Bowls even.
Won Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVPs.
Yeah, but it's a surprise that this is the first time that 2 black quarterbacks have gone head to head in the Super Bowl. That blew my mind when I read that this morning, and I was just damn.
This goes back to what you were saying, and we are finally seeing the changing of the guard at the NFL quarterback position.
Absolutely.
And look, let's be real. As much as I loved Burrow, and I think Joe Burrow might be the coolest dude in the world.
Absolutely.
The 2 best teams made the Super Bowl this year.
No, again, we want to be mad. We really do want to be mad. However, at the same time, we have to recognize that the Chiefs and the Eagles really were the entire year the best teams in the league.
Correct.
There was no denying that.
Cincinnati started ice cold.
They really did. That was another thing too, was that if Cincinnati had made it to the Super Bowl, it would have been the first time a team had started 0-2 and made it to the Super Bowl.
Not true.
No?
Not true. Nope. You know who did it?
You even guess it was Dallas.
It was Dallas.
Ah. Okay,
Emmett
I know
Smith
it's somewhere
held out.
along there though that
Emmett Smith held out. I forget. I want to say it was the 93, 94 season. I could be wrong on that. I'm not fact checking myself. It's too much work at this moment. But Emmett held out due to a contract dispute. We started 0-2, and they were like, "Shit, we need to get this man on the field." We signed Emmett. We go on to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
However, let's not forget that Cincinnati started 0-2, and one of those losses was to Cooper Rush.
Also true. Let's not forget. Shout out to Cooper Rush still for this year.
Hey, big shout out to Cooper Rush. Big shout out to Cooper Rush.
I do want to. I went and looked this up. There was one of the things that I saw this morning, or yesterday rather, when they put up the statistic about this being the first 2 black quarterbacks starting the Super Bowl. My buddy CJ, I want to give a shout out to him because I saw him post on social media and he put it best. All the years people said bullshit like black men didn't have the intelligence to play quarterback, even in my lifetime, seeing these 2 brothers change the game is mint.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I cannot agree anymore. Like, that is because in reality that is still a thing. Like, we have to talk about the social aspect of things too, like we did when we brought up the discussion about Wilkes. There is still that image of minorities in the NFL, and there is
what do you mean the NFL in America?
In America, absolutely. 100%.
We can tie this. We are Pigskin and Pinfalls. We can tie this into the WWE.
100%.
We did not get it. Who was the first black champion?
The Rock.
He's not black. He's Samoan.
They classify him as black.
Kofi.
And Bobby and Big E. Those are your 3. All 3 of them have been beaten by Brock Lesnar.
That's true. But when did this happen?
Only within the last 5 years.
Like, there's still this stigma that black men and African Americans in general face in America.
Absolutely.
And I think that having Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts go in and compete for the Super Bowl, like, what is that telling the youth?
And it's
that tells these young black kids, like, hey, I can go do that too.
And it's mint, especially when it's coming from a white boy and an Asian kid. But like at the same time, like we're recognizing where things need to be due. Like
I said, if you're the best man for the job, go out there and get it. The 2 best men led their team to the Super Bowl.
Exactly, and it's great that they are minorities and they can be that role model for the generations coming up.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And like, look, man, I grew up and I idolized Michael Vick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid and watching him play, I would watch Michael Vick play with my jaw dropped. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like the things that he was able to do with the football in his hand were absolutely incredible.
Michael Vick was ahead of
You
his
know?
time. Absolutely.
Oh my God, could you imagine? Could you imagine if we could get prime Mike Vick versus prime Lamar?
Oh my God. That'd be a hell of a
Oof.
match. Throw that on Madden.
Not a bad idea.
No,
So,
right?
having said that, first black Super Bowl, first all black quarterback Super Bowl, love it. Congratulations to those gentlemen. Also, first Super Bowl pitting brothers against each other as players.
Is
We
that is
got
that
brothers.
official?
That is official.
Okay.
That is official. We got
Because
the
we are
Kelsey
getting Jason
brothers
versus
playing against
Travis.
each other. We already had the coaching brothers.
Yeah, we had
a
the
few
Harbaugh
years
Bowl.
back.
I remember the Harbaugh Bowl
Harbaugh.
from 11 years ago.
Yep. God, was it 11
Oh,
years
10
ago?
years ago. Excuse me, 2013. Yeah, 2013.
Time doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
Good God. But yeah, shout out to Travis and Jason Kelsey. You know,
Their mom is not going to have to fly from one game to the other in the same day.
love that for her. Love that for her. And those guys are so funny and they're so
really are.
entertaining. And you know, Travis is revolutionizing the tight end position. I mean,
Jason's been revolutionizing the offensive line game.
I mean,
so
he's by all means and by all definitions, he's undersized. He shouldn't be playing the position he plays. And not only does he play it, but he plays it well.
He's a fucking Pro Bowler.
He is a Pro Bowl. He is
that says everything.
absolutely. I mean, he could be all pro.
Absolutely.
He could be all pro.
100%.
You know. So having said all of that, I think we've got to get into it a little bit here. Who you got?
Oh man. I'm split on this one. Honestly, because this was the match I did not want to see. I've been very vocal about this not being the one match I did not want to see. We knew that these were the two best teams in football. It felt like it was too much of a given to get these two. It honestly is kind of setting it up to be a minor bit of a snooze fest. Minorly, only because of the fact that it's expected. It would have been nice to see some unexpected teams in the Super Bowl. That being said, I think it's going to be the Eagles by 7.
Okay. So everyone is entitled to their opinion, but your opinion is wrong.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
This is going to be a hell of a game.
That's fair.
I think we're about to get a really good Super Bowl. However, I will never pick Philadelphia to win anything.
That's fair.
Ever.
As a Cowboys fan, I expect that.
I can't do it. But if I take my bias out of it, I still think Kansas City wins. I don't know if they win by 7. I don't know. I think so. Here's what I think. Right?
I think the line's closer.
I'm not
honestly.
convinced. I'm not convinced that Jalen Hurts can win with his arm. He threw for under 175 yards in the conference championship.
They don't need to.
He didn't need to throw a lot. You know, he's got Myers Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott all in that backfield. Right? Like he's got to help.
They mentioned it during the game that this is the Eagles have the most rushing touchdowns in a season, playoffs included, since the Yellow Jackets back in like the 1940s.
Shout out to the Yellow Jackets. Good
Shout out to the that says something about how long it's been since that record's been broken. So I think I can hear that argument against Jalen Hurts not being able to win it with his arm. However, they do have the best they're the best wide receiver tandem in football right now, and that backfield is amazing. The real question then, and I say this because as I was going out to walk the dog this morning, this was literally what they were talking about on ESPN as I was walking through the lobby. The real question becomes, can the Eagles O-line beat the Chiefs front 7?
It's a hell of a front 7.
It's a hell of a front 7.
And also, you got to remember, the Eagles are by far the most healthy team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 2 teams left in the NFL, But the Eagles really didn't have any major injuries this year.
No, that's actually I was going to say that too. Is like the Eagles
They
have
had
been super
and
healthy the entire. Everyone look at just the playoffs alone. The Niners lost because of injuries. The Bills lost because of injuries. The Bengals, not really, but still.
But Cowboys, Tony Pollard going down. I'm not going to sit here and say that's the reason we lost, but it didn't help.
It did not help you guys' case.
And let's not forget, Kansas. Phil, you're saying the Eagles got two of the best best wide receiver tandem. Let's not forget who they got playing DB.
Also true.
James Bradbury and big play Slay. They're balling.
We
and the
know
Kansas City Chiefs.
Bradbury.
Where's the Kansas City Chiefs injuries right now? Wide receiver
and Mahomes, his ankle. Let's not discount that.
well,
It's not 100%. It is not 100%.
It's not. You're absolutely right. But he's got 2 weeks. He's got 2 weeks to rest up.
Yeah.
They're gonna. I think the ankle is gonna be less of a factor than it was this past weekend. And even still, Patrick Mahomes won that game with a play on his legs.
He really did.
So, look, it's still early. We've got 2 weeks to sit here and talk about Super Bowl. We got storylines that I'm sure are going to come out. Someone's going to do something stupid. Someone's going to get arrested. Somebody's going to go behind the wheel and drive after they had a couple drinks. Like, we've got 2 weeks to talk about the Super Bowl. Let's just sit back and enjoy it because before you know it, we're out of football for 9 months.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna take
before we transition to our next segment. I got some rapid fire news here I want to hit you with. All right,
got it.
So, Rap Sheet. He said Vic Fangio, a lot of interest in San Francisco, but he thinks he ultimately ends up in Miami.
Didn't Fangio sign a deal already? I thought I saw Fangio signed a deal with Miami.
Oh, well then, Rap Sheet was right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Fangio already signed a deal with Miami. I saw that yesterday, I want to say. He signed... it isn't official until it's official. Was 21 hours ago from NBC Sports.
Gotcha. Okay, so Rap Sheet was right.
Yeah. But right now, the discussion is he is being talked about for the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
I won't be mad
DeMeco Ryans out on the Denver Broncos. 49ers defensive coordinator has told Denver he isn't interested in their head coaching job as Texan rumors heat up.
I've been hearing a lot about him going to the Texans. Didn't he used to play for the Texans too?
He did, with JJ.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be a great fit, honestly. I think DeMeco Ryans and what he has done for the San Francisco defense has been amazing.
Yeah.
I think that he deserves all his flowers, and he is going to be one of those. He's going to be the next player coach to really make a name for himself in the league.
Agreed. And with J.J. Watt retiring, why not have him come in there and coach up that D-line room?
Oh, my God. Absolutely. 100%. Give me.
Arizona Cardinals are interviewing Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. Look, Daboll did a great job with those boys this year. Daboll is getting all the credit. Daboll deserves all the credit.
Coach of the year. 100%.
I think he deserves it. And again, that's coming from a Cowboys fan who can't stand the Giants.
Mm-hmm. That man deserves it. I'm sorry.
This NFL salary cap being increased. Yeah, that's
just gonna mean bigger contracts for bigger people.
Yep. Kellen Moore joins the Chargers. We talked about that. And I'll end it with this, and we can move on. An unnamed NFL executive is predicting that the 49ers sign Brady.
Ew.
Brady grew up a Niners fan, idolized Joe Montana.
Ew. Still, ew.
That puts a damper on everything we just talked about with Trey Lance, Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy.
Fucking hell, ew. No, make it go away.
Y'all want to pay a 45-year-old man to come play for a year or two? Do you?
I mean, if you want to take your team, like...
Yeah, you want to set your team back, go for it.
Right? If you want to go back 5 years, like, that's cool. But you already have... Technically, you already have Brady and Jimmy G. Jimmy G is Brady.
Einhorn is Finkel. Jimmy G he's like, I don't want to be around him. That man will not leave me alone. Like, could you imagine Tom Brady walking in there and being like, "Sup, Jimmy?
Why are you here?" All right, we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna go ahead and put up the AFK screen. We'll go ahead and take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the Royal Rumble. We're gonna go ahead into the other side of the other side. What's up? What, do you have more football still? What?
I said I can't wait. I'm ready to talk about the Rumble.
Right, yeah. So we're going to go to a quick break, and we will be back shortly. Where is my AFK screen? There we go. And we are back. How is everybody doing? All right, so let's transition to the other side of our podcast now, and let's talk Royal Rumble. Because
the pinfall side of things.
The pinfall side of things, and let me tell you, the NFL this past weekend may have left me a little bit disappointed, but god damn, what a fucking show we had this weekend. That may have been one of the best pay-per-views I have seen in years.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Overall? Yeah.
To an extent.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into everything as we go. Let's discuss. So, we kick off the show, and let's just take it right down the run. We kick off the show, and we get what is quite possibly one of the best returns I had seen in a while in our boy, who you have on in the background right now, Pat McAfee.
Sure do.
We are massive McAfee fans here at Pigskins Pinfalls. Absolutely, and in reality, like, I think it was great how, like, so I actually fell asleep last night watching the replays of his show where he was talking about him and Cole were talking about, like, all this great. I watched that too. You watched it? Yeah. So it was so they kept the whole thing a secret to everyone. The only people in the building that knew about it was, like, Kevin Dunn, Bruce Pritchard, and Trips. They were the only. I think that was the only people that knew, and Khan, obviously. And so, like, they're literally. I was shocked to hear. Remember how we were talking during the show. It was like, how do you think he got there? Because they had mentioned that, like, he was in the Thunderdome earlier in the day, and they chartered him a private plane to get there. You made the joke. It was like, I guarantee you it was Billionaire Jim. And then it comes out during the show, it's just like, no, they actually called Jim to use his plane as a last resort. And before that could happen, Kevin Dunn was already like, nope, we got it handled, don't worry. Yeah. So I was right on that one.
In that interview with Cole, he even said, like, he had to switch planes. Like, he touched down 27 minutes before show opened.
Yep.
Like, this man works so hard. Pat McAfee is one of the hardest working men in the entertainment industry.
That's why we model after him. Let's be real. He is a huge influence on us.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah. Massive.
He's a huge influence. And he's just so damn entertaining, too. Like,
He is. You know, you talk about football and wrestling crossover, Pat McAfee personifies
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. George Kittle personifies that.
George Kittle, LT back in the day.
Howie Roseman.
Mongo McMichael.
Mongo. I mean,
Bill Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns.
LT had a WrestleMania match.
I said LT.
Oh yeah, you did say LT. But yeah, so the best thing about it was that Cole and Graves didn't know.
No, absolutely, and they sold it so well.
They did.
They really did. And so this brings into another question before we can move on, though. With Pat back, what happens to Wade Barrett?
Make it a three-man booth.
Make it a three-man booth?
Make it a three-man booth.
Even though they're focused, it seems like they're so focused on two-man booths right now.
I agree, but traditionally, one of the shows is 3 men, one of the shows is 2 men.
Why wouldn't it make sense then to have the 3-man on the 3-hour show then? Send him the Raw?
Smack that. No, you don't break up Cole and Pat.
Oh, you mean Barrett? No, I'm saying send Wade to Raw. Then you have Corey, Kevin, and Wade.
I'm not a massive fan of Kevin.
I think Kevin has improved massively since being on Raw.
I agree.
Think he had to, and I said this from the very beginning. I was like, let him grow into the role. Let him let him grow into the role. He'll get the hang of it, and he really has. He's starting to come into his own. He's not quite there yet, but the banter between him and Corey is definitely improving, and he's getting the hang of being the straight guy for a while.
Yeah.
Like he's starting to get the hang. He still has some work to do, but he's getting there. It's kind of hard to when you're comparing everybody to Cole.
He's a bland, straightforward, not much personality announcer, which I feel like is okay because you have Graves, who is so flamboyant and loud and is a heel, and I mean I think it works. Setting Barrett to, I mean, Cole and Pat by themselves is beautiful, right?
No,
like we got
you have to keep Cole and Pat by themselves. Cole,
we got
honestly, and this is going to be high praise, and this is going to be a bold statement. I would argue that Cole and Pat is the new Jim and JR.
I have no argument to that.
I have no argument. They are the most cohesive, laid-back booth on television right now.
I would argue Cole and Pat are better. Because King and JR was a whole lot of catchphrases. You know what I mean? Like if you think about it, like
and Cole's not.
I mean,
Cole is catchphrases.
Cole has been turned down so much since VKM left.
I agree, but at the same time, he's still about his catchphrases because that's his style. The only difference is he is a lot more in between those catchphrases. He's a lot more loose. That's where the difference is. He's loose now.
He's having fun.
Oh, absolutely. He's openly said over and over again how since Pat has came into the show,
revitalized him.
It has entirely revitalized him.
Absolutely.
So I get it.
I wouldn't mind seeing Wade go to Raw. I wouldn't mind it if they kept him on SmackDown and ran with a three-man booth. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. Since they've made that transition back to two-man booths, I kind of like it better. I like it as a three-man booth on a pay-per-view when you need to have the three voices to have like coverage from everybody. But I kind of like having just a two-man booth on the weekdays. It makes things a little bit less chaotic. I don't know. This is why we go into this though, because the big argument now is if you gotta keep Pat and Cole together. You have to. You have to. But if you take Wade out of that equation, does Wade go back to NXT? And if so, what does that do to Booker? Does Booker, because that was the other thing too, was that from the very beginning, that was always the plan, was that once Pat comes back, Wade goes back down to NXT, Booker goes away. Where does that leave? But at the same time, people are really liking Booker.
Yeah.
Especially the way that Booker's been healing it up, complaining about the New Day being the NXT Tag Champs. He's really healing it up. I don't know if it's real or I don't know if it's a work or a shoot with that whole thing where he was getting angry about them breaking the record. But like,
I think that's a work. I mean, because he came out. Remember a few years ago when he gave them all that, when King Booker came out and gave them all their names. I think that's
probably a work. It's probably a work.
But it's WWE has some decisions to make, and I am curious to see where they go with it. As long as we get some form of Cole and Pat together, which there's no way they break them up, they're not stupid enough to do that. I'm good with whatever they decide to do.
Absolutely, I agree. Okay, so moving on from there, let's go to the men's Rumble. How do you feel?
So
we are 2 days removed. We are 3 days removed from the Rumble.
First and foremost, if you had any worries about Vince coming back in under creative, our first two entrants were Sheamus and Gunther. Gunther and Sheamus, technically. That screams Papa H.
And not to mention, that was fucking beautiful. I was a little skeptical about them starting it off. And at the same time, I was like, wait, if they started off, it's a great way to continue the feud without having to like push anything. And they even pushed about the fact that Sheamus is still after the IC to complete his Grand Slam.
Nice Grand Slam set.
3
days removed, I still am a big fan of it. I said it during the stream. I think that both Rumble matches have extreme rewatchability. The main event was, I mean, it's probably the best storytelling since I got back into wrestling.
Let's take it a match at a time. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
I'm just throwing that out.
I agree.
Little teaser for the fans out there. I think it's probably the best story since I got back into wrestling in 2016, 2015. and
Hard
not
agree.
everything can be a 5-star match. Um,
Hard agree.
with the, with the middle part, you got to have your audience cool down. You can't have everybody revved up the whole time.
We'll get to that. Oh,
Yeah,
we'll get to
but
that.
as far as the men's Rumble match itself, I think the right person won. Sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice.
Agreed. I have one major gripe with the men's rumble.
Okay.
I don't think Cody should have had the number 30. I think Cody should have came in a little earlier, somewhere in the 20s. Definitely still protect him a little bit because he did just get cleared. But
Owls
him
before the
being
show.
at 30, it's a little bit of a diminishment. Because then there is that argument that Finn made on Raw last night with being gifted the number 30. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of hard to argue against that. And it's like, if you want it, like, they spent all this time, and I get, like, at the end of the day, Cody was always meant to win the Rumble, even before he got injured. The minute he came back, we were saying this, the minute he came back to the WWE at Mania, that it was all the way going to lead to him being the one to dethrone Roman. And it was going to
Yeah.
probably go through the Rumble. And that was how they were going to build it. The only thing that changed that plan was him getting injured and having that entire buildup between Hell in a Cell and the Rumble, where he was injured. That entire stretch should have been an entire buildup to make him into that strong contender. He should have been having those 5-star matches with everybody. Him getting injured was the only thing that ruined that plan. That's why we got a month and a half of promo packages hyping
Yeah.
him up, because they
Yeah.
needed to remind the people that were probably just tuning in and
This is
all
our
the other
plan.
fans that have been removed from him, give everybody that reminder of, oh yeah, that's right, that's this guy, he can do
Right.
this. And it's
Right.
like that instant reminder of, no, if we put him as the winner of the Rumble, here's every reason why he deserves to win the Rumble. It telegraphed it. And that's also why it was smart that they put the Rumble on first, the men's Rumble on first, because that was everyone knew. Like, it was impossible. If you had been following along, sorry, I saw a note from Jones. I will address that at Jonesy here in a second. But so it all along, we all knew that it was going to be Cody. If you've been reading the writing on the wall at all, then it was predetermined from the very beginning. So
Yeah.
it made
9
sense
months
to
in
get your
making.
most obvious pick out of the way first for
Yeah.
booking.
So
Yeah.
I don't hate him coming out at 30, because I think if you have him come out at any other number,
Mm-hmm.
you risk what happened to Rey Mysterio in the 14 Rumble.
Yeah.
Because look, Sami
but
Zayn is
still.
on fire right now, and again, we'll get into that, and I don't want to give too much away because we're not there yet. But if you have Cody come out in the 20s, everyone's going to be expecting Sami at 30, and whenever they get and it's not Sami, that person's getting booed.
Ooh, that's a very fair argument, because I was actually going to, before you mentioned that, I was going to say that it probably would have been better to have Cody come in earlier, because you knew that he was going to be in the match and that's who you were expecting in the match. But I was going to say save your number 30 for that surprise. You bring in that whole Sammy thing, yeah, that definitely, I could see how that would be a thing. But
Yeah.
I was originally going to suggest that you put number 30 as Logan Paul instead of 29, because hell, just swap the two of them around. Make number 30 your surprise, then you could still build up that mystique of, is it going to be Sammy?
And
You
then,
already know
'cause,
Cody's
'cause
in, and then
Logan
when
Paul
Sammy
is a heel
doesn't
in the
show
US.
out, when Sammy doesn't show up, you have Logan Paul of all people to take all of that heat,
That's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout, and I don't hate that.
and you still have the surprise of who's going to be number 30.
Right.
Once,
I don't
because
hate-
even
I don't hate
before the number 30 was, even before Cody came out, it was the argument of, well, we already know who it's gonna be. We've been building up
Right.
to it.
Right.
It did remove a little bit of that mystique.
I agree. I agree, because we even said it when we were watching on Saturday. Like, well, we know who 30 is after Logan Paul came out.
Because by the time we hit 27, we were counting all the people that were left.
Yeah,
And I was even
Yeah.
sitting there, I was just like, all right, so out of who's left, we're missing Cody, we're missing Ricochet, and we're missing one other. Fun fact, and I actually noticed it, and they were, I think it was Sean Ross Sapp was tweeting about it and made a joke about it. On the graphic that they posted during the pre-show of who all had been confirmed for the Rumble, all the additional names that had been confirmed, one of the names that had been confirmed that we pointed out was on there was Madcap Moss.
Yeah.
Madcap Moss was not in the Rumble.
He was not.
And the only way that they can play, let me address this comment real quick from Jonesinator. I know you guys transitioned away from football already, but I just saw this post on Reddit. Eagles 62 and Chiefs 87 are brothers, making this the first Super Bowl to have siblings play against each other. We actually did mention that the Kelsey brothers are going to be playing against each other. We had a nice good point about that. I don't know if you were driving for that, but yeah, we did touch that. So, going back to that though, with the Rumble, like, if you just switch those two picks around, you could have done a lot more with that. I
don't hate that. I don't. Yeah. If you swap Logan and Cody, I don't hate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't. But yeah. I mean, because like you said, like, you know, I think if you mash our 2 points together of 30, everybody wanted it to be Sammy, but you have Logan come out to soak in that heat. I mean, you have a mega heel.
Yeah. And especially because of the fact that they're healing it up the way he threw out Rollins, because Rollins is still kind of in between himself right now.
Well, I think that's our Mania match.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's kind of what they're getting at right now, is that they're building. Because since the discussion right now is that we're probably not going to get Logan Cena, which is what they were trying to talk about. But at the same time, we might also get Cena Theory. So
I have you. Yep, I have in my notes about Raw last night, which again we'll get into. I touch on the Theory Cena thought process.
I think that's what's good though, is that right now we're still the Rumble built so many storylines, which is what it's designed to do.
Yep. 60 days away today.
They built so many storylines out of just the Rumble, and that's as appropriate as you can do. That being said, also, like, the right person won. You've got all these storylines that are coming out of it. You have 60 days to build out of that. We can sit here and look, like, we're already naming off now. Let's name off all the things that they did do right. Gunther, that 70-minute run. Oh my God, yes. And not only that, but I forget who it was that pointed it out. Not only was he in there the full 70 minutes, you never lost him during that 70 minutes. It wasn't 30 minutes of him laying in a corner. No, he was visible all 70 minutes. That man has been putting in the work.
Yep.
And especially
you can tell Triple H is high on him, as he should be.
And apparently the goal is that they're going to build Gunther to be like the next Roman. Like, that's essentially what's happening here, and I love it. Please give me that. Let him be this monster that no one can take out, that's just good for the sake of being good, that you love to hate because he's so damn good.
Break him away from Imperium.
Keep Imperium with him. Either or. Then you have an entire stable behind him of other hitters. They could be his Usos. Do without
Vinci and what's his face?
Vinci and Kaiser?
Yeah, that one.
I mean, inevitably they'll branch off, but think about it. Every major like big face of the company that they've had over the past couple years has all had their stable with a tag team with them. Roman's had the Usos. Bobby had the Hurt Business.
Big E with the New Day.
And Kofi with the New Day.
Yeah.
A lot of your big stars that they put on the top have their associated tag team with them. That period of time where Randy had the Revival before the Revival left.
Oh yeah.
Let's not forget that. AJ has the Club.
Yep.
Judgment Day. You see where we're going with this. If you're gonna it's okay to keep Imperium with him as his stable on his rise to the top. We're also talking, again, they have to finish this Roman Reigns story. We have to finish this Bloodline story out still, which we're getting to that. We're getting to that.
So they got they got Gunther right. I like the Booker T surprise hometown boy coming back, like
completely mirroring his 2002 presence as well. Spinner Rooney immediately thrown out. The mini match between Gunther and Cody at the end. Shades of 07 Taker and Shawn. And
beautiful. When was the last time we had a mini match at the end of the Rumble?
Somebody said Sheamus Jericho recently in 2012 was the last.
2012. Okay, so 10 years, 11 years.
11 years was the last time we had a solid mini match like that, and
long overdue,
and it was beautiful.
It was.
It was well done. Multiple false finishes. And one other thing I want to touch on that I think was also good is everyone's been arguing about the whole why was there no NXT talent in the men's rumble. I personally love that decision because you're actively using your entire roster. You have a roster. You have more than 30 people on your roster that can take those spots. There is no reason to give those away to legends or too many of those spots. Let's be real. We still needed that Booker T spot. You still need the returns of you needed the Edge return in order to build up the return of him to the store with the build up with because inevitably they're building to him versus Finn at Mania. I would love to see that be a Hell in a match. Return. I would love to see that as a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. We got a Gargano return.
We got a Gargano return. Oh, by the way, you were asking during the live match, when we were watching, who he was dressed as this year for the Rumble. King of the Conqueror. That's who it is. It took. Somebody pointed that out. I think it was called Hall pointed that out this morning, and I was just like, that's what it was. Okay. So
no, I agree with no NXT because let's be real, man. I don't think we're at that point yet where an NXT superstar is going to come in and win the Rumble. So why are you taking away from your current roster that's there day in, day out on Mondays and Fridays to give it to somebody that works Wednesdays?
Yeah. It makes sense for the women's Rumble because they did still need to fill out some of those spots. And honestly, again, there were only like 3 spots that were for NXT talent this year in the
one
women's
of which
Rumble.
Was the NXT champion, which if anybody is going to come in from NXT, it should be the person holding your top belt.
Absolutely.
So I have no issue with Roxanne coming in.
Absolutely. None. And then the other 2 being Zoe and Indy, who are both ready for their call up.
I mean, Zoe is Indy. I don't know what it is. Indy doesn't do it for me. I'm not into her character. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint why. I'm not a big Indy fan. But Zoe looked great.
Counterpoint. Let Indy come up, rejoin the rest of the Gargano family, have the way be their thing, have them, because you've already got Johnny, you've already got Candice, you've already got Dexter. You're only missing Indy. The only other part of that's missing from that formula would technically be Austin Theory, and Austin Theory's too busy doing his own thing.
Correct.
So go ahead, bring Indy up, bring that whole thing, because you've got Candice right now fishing around in the women's tag team division. And let's not forget that Candice and Indy are former NXT women's tag team champions.
Right.
So if you want to bring Indy up when she has nothing left to do in NXT, and you can bring her up because she is main roster ready, but she's not really in a position to really do much of anything outside of maybe a program with Candice going for the tag titles. You can keep her where honestly the rest of the way is right now, because everyone's been making this argument right now about where Johnny and Candice and Dexter are. They're kind of at the bottom of the mid card right now. They're there. They're just kind of establishing their presence. Everyone's arguing about that. I love it. They recognize that they are young stars that have plenty of years ahead of them. Johnny, I think, is still in his late 20s, early 30s. You searching that?
I am.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're still in their late 20s, early 30s. They have a lot of years to go ahead of them. Let them take their time that right now, while there's a lot of big storylines going on, and just build their character. Let them have some fun moments. Let them do their thing.
Johnny's not as young as you think.
Really?
35, and Candice is 37.
Okay. Still, in wrestling years, that's in the prime of their career.
Right, and they're young in their WWE career.
Yeah, young in their WWE career. In reality, they have the entirety of their NXT. Johnny has his entire NXT career to fall back on if anybody has any questions. He has the entirety of his NXT career, same as Candice. They have
getting back to the Rumble. Mm-hmm. Getting back to the Rumble, because we can go off on a tangent.
Yes, we can. And, we also have a lot of stuff that we have to talk about because this is still our first episode. So
correct.
We still got to get through
Raw. We still got to get through Raw and SmackDown predictions. So, I think and if we're gonna talk about what they did right in the Rumble, we got to talk about that Logan and Ricochet spot.
Chef's kiss. That was beautiful. That was something
It,
that was made for social media. They did it
yeah,
right,
yeah.
and
And it was one of the most athletic feats that you're gonna see in a WWE ring.
absolutely,
Is that ring
100%.
is 20 feet wide,
And to see
and
the
to
two of
have
them
them
springboarding off of opposite sides of the ring into a perfect midair collision that you have
in
to
the
plan so
dead
right,
center of the ring too.
and you
Nobody
have
overshot it. Nobody undershot it. Like
not only that, but going into that shit, it's gonna fucking hurt. Like you are
absolutely.
you are purposely going in there to gut check each other.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's gotta be painful, and you have to time that perfectly. So
Absolutely.
give the both of them their flowers on that one.
Agreed. Agreed.
Um,
I
we don't need to go
believe.
into like a full breakdown on how everybody got came in. Oh, there's one other thing we need to address. Kofi, 2 years in a row, missed the spot.
Yeah. Look, man. Father Time's undefeated. That's really all I got to say about it. Father Time is undefeated, and maybe it's time he passes that torch on to somebody else who can do some some rumble saves.
I
I mean,
think
he did it consistently for years. He provided some great social media clips. He provided a lot of great memories for fans. Um,
I think and
and there's only
counterpoint.
so much you can do.
No, that's what I'm getting at is that they have run out of ideas, and now they're at the point where they're experimenting with other ideas that are more likely to fail because they've run out of all of the obvious ones that have already happened.
Yeah,
All the obvious ones that have already been done. The save by the ring post, the save by jumping on the barrier, save by
pogo
jumping on the
stick,
table, pogo stick in the chairs.
pancakes.
They've already thought of everything. They're
Yeah,
running out of ideas, and they're getting more experimental for the things that may work, and they're more likely to fail because it's something new, but it's more risky.
yeah.
And the risk, like this one, I can see what they were trying to do. You could tell what they were trying to do. They had Woods go out first so that way he could grab the chair and put it into place and keep it steady. Kofi then jumped into the chair, but it was just still like it's an office chair. It's
It's
very unstable if you're trying to jump into it. That is a
right.
very risky
And
move, and obviously all it took was the tiniest bit of unbalancing, and boom, they both go. And they tried to save it with the whole weight, but his feet might not have touched, and just no, no. They were just
gravity
like,
doesn't care that you're trying to save yourself from a Royal Rumble.
no, it really doesn't. Especially when you know at the end of the day, you're not winning that rumble. It doesn't make sense to
Right.
try and save you.
Right. Like, and I mean, I hope he's okay because it looked like he smacked the shit out of his head on
That
the
was the other thing too, is
announcement.
that why they may have not have even tried to like save it at that point. I think they did say that he did suffer like a little bit of an injury there. There
Yeah.
were
I mean,
apparently there were a lot of injuries during the rumble this year.
yeah.
That was another thing. Cody got injured again. Cody busted his
Yeah.
eardrum, and then he's like, "Fuck it, I busted my eardrum, but I won the rumble. I don't care."
Right.
Literally, that was his reaction.
We got to talk about number 17.
Oh, that's that too. We got to bring that up.
We got to talk about number 17 at 7. So 17, and we get that iconic Booyaka Booyaka Rey Mysterio music. And no Rey. Rey doesn't come out. And then at 18, we
I
get
love this moment. I'm not gonna lie.
at 18 we get ex-con Dominic Mysterio walking out with his father's mask.
And he
And
tries
then Rich,
so hard to rip
I
the
will let
mask.
you take I will let you take it from here. What happened to Dominic on his way to the
He
ring
comes
with
out.
Ray's mask?
He comes out wearing Ray's mask, healing it up, making it seem, of course, like um, Judgment Day beat down Ray backstage, and they're
Backstage
continuing that whole
beatdown, yep.
thing. And he comes out with the mask, and he's trying so damn hard to rip this mask apart, and he's failing miserably the entire walk through. But that's the beauty of it, because then it's
It's
just
perfect for
adding
his character.
it really is. It's so
It's
perfect
perfect
because it's
for his
just
character.
like you are not meant to take him seriously. So the fact that
No.
he's trying to do something serious and failing makes it 20 times better. I laughed so hard at him
Yeah.
failing to rip that mask.
And he thinks he's better than he is. He thinks he's stronger than he is. He thinks he thinks so highly of himself, and he can't even rip a mask.
Oh
And
my god.
it was good.
Can we go ahead and just transition and like combine in the Raw review as well and talk about the so you missed this, you had stepped away for a phone call, but they played into this with the starting section of Raw last night. They had Cody come out and give his babyface speech, and like he gives a damn good speech as only Cody can do. Let's be real, you'll love to hate it, but he's a damn good promo. Talking all this stuff about what he would tell his 19-year-old self, about all the things that he's going to achieve in his future. And then when Judgment Day comes out, they basically do this whole, like, it was meant to be Dom. Dom should have won it all because that was part of the plan. It was going to be Dom and Rhea, and you ruined that. This is all your fault. And they start, like, hyping up Dom. And then Cody just looks at them and goes, Dom, are you trying to scare me straight? I lost it.
Oh, man.
You missed that part, but I lost it.
That's great.
And so
that's great.
That line alone, like, sold that entire promo. And I'm pretty sure that's what it was entirely built upon. And I'm here for it. 100% I'm here for it.
The chicken shit heel gimmick, it saved Dominic Mysterio's career.
It really did. He needed something.
We were all tired of him as a face and partnering with his dad, and like, we're tired of it. Well, it wasn't working.
The only downside to that is that we are inevitably at the point that we're all fearing, and this is coming to the end of Ray's career. He always said he wanted to go out putting his son over, and we'll get to that as well when we talk about Rhea winning the Rumble, on how I think that goes into our plans for Mania. We'll get to that point when we talk about Rhea, but that pretty much covers the men's Rumble. There is one other thing I will cover, but I'm going to wait until we talk about the women's Rumble for that, because we're running low on time.
So, congrats to Cody.
Yeah, congrats to Cody.
WWE got it right.
Absolutely.
Obvious choice, best choice, doesn't matter. The right person won. I'm interested to see how they handle Cody versus Roman. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the Mountain Dew Pitch Black.
Oh boy.
Look, as I said in the football segment for us, I will never shit on somebody trying something.
Absolutely. I think I have been a staunch supporter of Bray Wyatt doing creative things for
years.
longer than anybody else has.
I agree with you. You have always been a big Bray fan.
I defended the WrestleMania 33 match against Randy Orton.
Yeah.
I've gone that far.
Yeah.
The reveal was the best part of this match. I called it while they were setting up. I was just like, "Oh, look, they're turning the rings glow in the dark. They're turning the ropes glow in the dark. Look at that." Yeah. And then as we were talking about it, and then LA Knight comes out with his gear being neon, and I'm like, "That's gonna glow in the dark." I was just like, I can see where they're going with this. And then they hit the lights, and Bray has his face paint and body paint all going, and
looked good with his contacts in it, the red contact lenses. It looked good. It looked good. It from an intimidation factor, from a presentation factor, it looked good.
Now, the only problem with this, and this is where a lot of the argument comes in, even as far back as WrestleMania 33, with the projections on the ring, is the big argument is that it looks great on television.
Not great live.
It looks shit in person.
Yeah.
And that was a big argument that everyone was having, was this match was very difficult to watch when you were in the arena. So I can see where the detraction comes from that.
Well, I wasn't in the arena, and I watched it on TV, and I thought the presentation of it looked good. I do think it was weird that they had a big fucking corporate sponsor plastered in the center of the ring, but
it's Mountain Dew paid good
money. Very WCW. But Mountain Dew paid good money, and they were going to get their advert one way or the other. So
when they were talking about all the when they were talking about all the sponsorship numbers and like the advertising numbers they got for this year, they said that like how it doubled their numbers and stuff, or like it set all sorts of records. They did say that expect this to be a lot of the norm, and it's not like we're not familiar with sponsored matches before. I mean, we all know the many millions of like pizza matches that they've had, the KFC sponsorship they had with Ric Flair. All the different, we're not immune. We're not surprised by it. I just think they tried so hard to pigeonhole this storyline into that branding.
Yeah.
That it ruined a lot of what was supposed to be focused on.
I saw a post on Reddit, and they could have leaned into it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
They could have had, LA Knight come out and be like the corporate shill. And
I saw that post actually, where he could just be like shilling it out, and like then it would be the two of them fighting over like the sponsorship.
Yeah.
And then like him just like shilling it out, just like, let me talk to you. Takes a sip. So I saw that. Yeah. Wait, do I have the button? Do I have the button?
Dummy. Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. That had to be a thing.
As far as the match goes, look, like a pitch black match, none of us knew what it was, right? Like we didn't know what that was going to be. We didn't know what that was going to look like.
No.
And I think again, presentation wise, they did a good job. I've seen a lot of people like, oh, when they went through the announce table and there was green confetti, like why? What do you mean why? Because it was a visual representation. Like not everything needs to have an answer. Not everything needs to have an explanation. Like wrestling requires suspension of disbelief.
Agreed. Right? However, while we were watching the show, even I was questioning the confetti. I was even questioning. I was like,
it looked good when they went through the table and the green stuff went flying everywhere.
I did read also. I forget who the source was on this, but they pointed out that it was never supposed to be in the cups on the table anyways. So when he knocked the cups over and it prematurely scattered the confetti everywhere, it was only ever supposed to go everywhere when you splattered the table. And that kind of ruined it a little.
Would have looked better.
It would have looked better that way. If you saved that for the splatter when you go through the table, it would have looked 20 times better. I agree.
Agreed.
Now, so, at the end of the day, when it comes down, like the overall point here we're making is that once we got past the presentation and the bell rang, it all went downhill from there.
Correct. The match left a lot to be desired.
It was very short.
And to give you guys a quick synopsis of the match, they went outside. They got sent through an announce table. They go back in the ring. Bray hits his sister Abigail. 1, 2, 3. Match is done.
Yeah. It was as quick as that. And then they spent just as much time on post-match angle.
Correct.
So Bray puts on a second mask that is now glowing red. And I'm instantly reminded of, like, something out of Breath of the Wild. Like, where he's like, the Guardian's turning red, and it's just like, uh-oh, it's angry, it's chasing after me, I need to get the fuck out of here. And it's like, that's literally what the image I had in my mind. It's just like, oh crap, it turned red. It's literally like something out of a video game. Enemy turns red, you run away. It's literally what happens. And then he just spends the entire time dipping the fuck out.
Yep, and taking kendo shots to the head. I did like that they had the paint on the kendo stick, so when Bray got hit, it left like the glow-in-the-dark stripe on him. I thought that was cool.
Agreed.
Couple kendo shot sticks to the head. That leads to the mandible claw, which then leads to Uncle Howdy showing up.
And out of nowhere, takes that leap of faith.
That was a coffin drop.
It wasn't even a coffin drop. It was an elbow drop. He put the elbow out. He did put the elbow out, and he kind of went sideways with it. He whiffs it. He whiffs it visibly.
Big time.
Gotta work on it. But at the same time, he was probably just being like, I'm gonna be as safe as I can with this jump because there's about to be a bunch of flames that go off. But like they do this whole thing, and then they have the Funhouse puppets in their human form staring down from that balcony, and it's just, look, I will defend it. I will defend it with there's still more to be done here, and I think there's still more to be told. But with what they did tell in this moment, I was not impressed. It didn't make sense. And I agree with the need for suspension of disbelief, but if the things that you're watching don't make sense as like a contained unit in itself, as its own chapter, you're losing your audience.
I agree.
And you are
And
rapidly like returning Bray was such a big moment last year.
yeah,
And they have done nothing but run it into the ground since.
yeah.
And if this story doesn't go somewhere soon, everyone's going to be tuned out, and that's the end of Bray.
You just took the words
this is his last
right
chance.
out of my mouth.
I
took the words
genuinely
right
think
out of my mouth.
Yeah, I genuinely think this is Bray's last chance. Because
Yeah,
if he
I
can't
mean,
make
something's got to give. Something's got to happen. They've got to do something.
if they can't
And-
make it work under a Trips regime, it's not going to work.
right.
It's as simple as
And
that.
I mean, you can't. Bray came back at what, Extreme Rules,
Yeah,
and that was his first match.
October.
Like,
it wasn't. Yeah,
we-
October.
We can't have 3.5 month builds to one single match, and your match is sub 10 minutes, and it's that.
Yeah,
Like you can't do that. Like people are not gonna want to stick around and watch that. They're not gonna be invested in it. It's not gonna work like that. So they've got to figure something out, and they got to figure it out quick because, like you said, this is Bray's. This has to be Bray's last
it
chance.
has to be.
Because if this doesn't work, you're either getting fired, or they're gonna be like, okay, your creativity does not work. You're now a wrestler. Here's your gimmick. Go out and perform your gimmick.
You become a job. You're destined to be a job. You're actually no. I would argue he doesn't even last with the company at that point. He immediately gets
Yeah.
released, and he struggles to. Actually, I won't say he struggles to find work. I think if anything, he goes to Impact because he fits so well in Impact.
Ooh, yeah.
Anyways,
I could see that.
let's not stick around on this too much longer.
Correct.
We'll
Because
spend
Uncle
as much-
Howdy's not done yet.
No, Uncle Howdy is not done, and we have just as short of a match to talk about, and that being Bianca versus Alexa. And they had this whole build of now Howdy's getting involved with Alexa and trying to bring her back around. Bray's post-match comments at the presser, talking about him and Alexa always being intertwined now, like
forever.
Like they're building to something. But honestly, this was a very forgettable match.
Least favorite of the night.
I've watched a lot of like post Rumble reviews and stuff from a lot of other channels, and a lot of them even forget to cover this match because there was no. I'm not even kidding. Like it's not even a joke. Like legitimately, they've forgotten to cover this match because it was such a forgettable match.
Yeah,
There was nothing there. I've seen better matches out of the two of them in the past month on Raw.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it was cut for time.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Bianca is a hell of a performer. Bliss is a hell of a performer.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them together, you thought could, I still think they can make magic.
I think Alexa is still struggling to find her way since coming back.
I think the worst thing that happened to Bliss was becoming linked with Bray.
Absolutely. She has been spinning her wheels ever since.
Yeah.
And
the whole Lily thing didn't work out.
It has hung on her neck like an albatross. And as much as she is trying to stand out and do everything on her own, now don't get me wrong, I think it is good that they're doing this whole thing with Howdy because at the very least they can finally pay it off with an ending. And we can pay it off with a proper ending and get her out of there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
Mr. Burns, I gotta take you on a quick trip. The laptop's gonna die. We gotta stay plugged in here.
not a problem. You're still in frame.
Gotta stay plugged in here.
Not a problem. We're going pretty lengthy today. It's okay though, because we're having some great discussion out of this.
I agree. All right. Juice is on. We're good.
Yep.
Yeah, so I agree. I think, they've got to do something with Bliss because this isn't it.
Yeah.
This isn't working. It hasn't been working, and she deserves more.
She really does.
I mean, let's not forget, she's a multiple-time women's champion in her own right.
Absolutely.
She did all of that before Bray.
Yeah, let's not forget, she is an NXT title reign away from being a Triple Crown from a Grand Slam championship herself.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, in my opinion, the less said about this match, the better.
Exactly.
It didn't work. It wasn't great. Bianca retains. Congrats to Bianca.
I'm hoping this whole thing it comes to a better end, and we finally get some. I'm hoping that they're only doing this so we can get some resolution out of Alexa's storyline, because
Yeah.
in reality, I think that putting her in the title picture was just an avenue to at least put her in the picture while the storyline progresses with her and Uncle Howdy, and it'll inevitably come to a head. And I think this was just a way to have that first step. I think they they got to pay this off. All right, let's move on from that though.
Well, we have to do. Uncle Howdy did appear. Uncle Howdy did show up.
Very minorly, but
very minorly. And then
I also disagree with the match lineup in the fact that they should have had, especially after you just had Uncle Howdy take that dive. Like that should have happened before Uncle Howdy took the dive. I would have swapped the two matches around.
Yeah, I like that. I like that better.
Yeah.
Because you're right. He literally just took a 20-foot dive and then back.
And it's just like all of a sudden now you're still sending spooky videos. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on from there.
That,
yeah. So let's move on from there. We have Women's Rumble, and again, very well booked. I'm very impressed with the way they did things.
Obvious choice is the right choice.
Obvious choice is the right choice. However, Rhea also giving Liv her flowers. Liv does.
Yeah, in the press conference.
Not only that, but the fact that like Liv said from the very beginning she wanted to be number 1. I feel like they ribbed her by giving her number 2.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a rib. I like it, but Rhea said it best during the during the presser. The fact that now she and Liv get to share the record of the longest woman. This coming from Liv previously having the record for the shortest time spent in the Rumble. And that being
which was broken,
and that being broken by Chelsea Green, perfectly, mind you.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish talking about Liv, then we'll get to Chelsea Green. Liv's rise to stardom has been well deserved, and
correct.
She I get that she had a rough go of it last year in her first championship reign. A lot of those baby faces that make it that way. Like, they make their way and, like, have to go through the whole chase and everything. When they get their first reign, it's usually not good.
Correct. And, I mean, if you're not the centerpiece of your own championship, then you're not going to have a good reign.
And I think she does still have a lot of growing to do. I think she still has a lot of figuring out of her character to do. And I like this whole edge that she's getting, this edge that we're getting out of her with this whole, this more violent streak.
And she's come a long way from the Riot Squad.
She really
long
has.
way.
I'm consistently seeing videos of her on social media, always training with other people, always teaching other people. She is one of the hardest workers in the business. She deserves her flowers.
Heard stories of her helping break down the ring, even still as a vet. I believe a 7-year vet. You know, and she still helps break down the ring. Like, again, this goes back to like the leadership discussion that we had with Trevor Lawrence, right? Like,
absolutely.
You either have it or you don't.
That shows and everything. Like that's that Miss Congeniality award at that point.
Yeah.
And honestly, she deserves it every moment. So moving on from there, let's talk about the fact that her record was broken, and that being Chelsea Green with 4 seconds in the Rumble.
A returning Chelsea
Green. And we saw the
commentary did such a great job with that.
They really did.
Chelsea Green, I'll look her up. And then Corey Graves goes, you can't do that on your work phone. And then Chelsea Green being eliminated and Graves going, I can't even talk about her stupid husband.
I think that's going to go. Yo, give me a Graves Carmella versus Cardona Green feud. That'd be beautiful.
Yeah, as long as it's Cardona, not Zack Ryder.
Right. We need to figure that whole thing out. Also, somebody brought up the idea of, like, whenever you finally bring Cardona in, it's just be like, I'm just going to get my husband out here to take care of this. I can totally see that being a way to bring in Cardona.
Easy way to do it.
Easy way to do it. And honestly,
reports are her new character is going to be a Karen.
And we saw the first tinges of that last night on Raw.
What did she say to Pierce?
Like,
are you the manager?
I popped.
It was the first thing she said to Pierce was, are you the manager?
I popped. Not gonna lie. I was just like, oh my God, they're going with it, and I love it.
And as somebody who has worked in the service industry and I have dealt with these people firsthand, she nailed the character.
She really did.
Nailed it.
That's the first words. That's all you need.
Yep. Yep.
So good on her.
I think that if that's going to be her character, having her have the record for fastest Rumble elimination is a perfect way to set that up.
Absolutely. A couple other things I want to touch on. The final 5. Let's not just go on the final 3. The final 3 was its own beautiful thing in itself. But let's recognize the final 5 real quick, because as it was announced on Raw last night, the final 5 was determined, and Rhea, of course, wins. She gets her chance at the championship. She chooses Charlotte. We're gonna have to talk about that in a moment when we get to the Raw discussion, and we get all of that. But they take the next 4, your 2 through 5, and they put them in the Elimination Chamber to see who gets number 1 contender to face against Bianca. I love that.
Love that.
Because you are now giving stakes to people that stay in the Rumble longer, not just for the winner.
Correct.
I love that. And then from there, let's go to that beautiful final 3. So masterfully done. First off, we got to talk Kana. We got to talk Kana.
Oh, please. She looked incredible.
The pop that we got from seeing the return of the Murder Clown.
Yeah, Graves sold it perfectly.
He really did. And
Graves sold that perfectly.
Like her doing even more of a crazier walk than normal while she was going down the going down the mask. Who was it? Ryan or Vod was in the chat while we were watching that, and they were like, "Whoa, what is that?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's definitely an Asuka thing," but oh, please let me see that makeup underneath. And then she removes the mask, and I'm just like,
"Move the mask!" Oh my god,
I lost it. I was like, "Let's fucking go."
And then what'd she do on Raw?
She sat there and gave it the same thing. Well, she had like the whole like the blue teeth. Like you could tell that she was ready to spit the mist on Carmella.
Oh, on a returning Carmella, yeah.
A returning Carmella. I gotta give.
And then,
honestly, this is long. This is, I wouldn't say long overdue. I think it's perfectly timed. I think it's perfectly timed for Asuka.
Yeah, she ran her course as you know, her face paint, dancing, happy-go-lucky, nobody ready for Asuka gimmick, and it's time for a change.
It's time for the violent streak.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, Asuka is she's been a competitor in professional wrestling for over 2 decades, and she's not getting any younger. And you know, I don't know how close she is to the end of her career.
She's 40 years old.
Right.
So
but this is as good a time as ever to introduce Western wrestling to who Kana is.
Absolutely, and dare I say it, Asuka to beat Bianca.
I don't hate it.
I'm okay with it now. I'm entirely okay with it.
I don't hate it.
One of the other things to bring up, of course, we had the women's record broken. We had like the women's length record. Rhea and Liv both putting up an hour and 1 minute. You have Liv having her shortest record broken. This is one of the things I wanted to touch on when I was talking about the men's Rumble, though, is that in both Rumbles, I think there is one thing. There's one other argument I have about this. The Rumble in general, as a pay-per-view, was that so many records were broken in those 2 Rumbles. It felt more like Triple H was trying to make those statements instead of focusing on the match itself. It felt like he was trying to pigeonhole so many like record breaks into both of those matches to leave his stamp on history. And
yeah, I could see that, and I don't.
That plays into the whole.
With you.
I think that plays into the whole Rhea going in first, and think about it. Both Iron Man records were broken.
Yeah.
You had another winner from the 1. You had another winner from the 30. You had the shortest female broken. You had a lot of both of these Rumbles were very safe.
Yeah.
They were very safe. Is the word that's being thrown around online, and I think that's the best way to describe it. It was a very safe approach to both Rumbles.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. But I don't think it's going to stand. I don't think it's going to age as well.
I mean, but at the same time, like, can you blame him? You know, Vince left, and then there's all these rumors that Vince is coming back, and like, you know, Triple H has to be like, this might be my only chance. This might be my only Rumble that I ever get to do.
I
Like,
agree.
I don't. If the company sells and the new owner of the company doesn't want me in charge of creative, like, who knows what could happen moving forward? I got to leave my mark.
No,
And I
absolutely.
think he did. I think we now know what a Triple H Royal Rumble looks like.
You're right. I think that it diminishes it'll just a tiny bit by having too many records broken at one time. That's my only argument. That's the only thing that I'm saying on that is just it was a tiny bit of diminishment on both rumbles because they were too busy focusing on breaking so many records.
Yeah.
That's it just it's a chip on the shoulder, nothing more. Um, Michelle McCool's spot was actually really good.
I
Her
like
being
it.
like the one return, and it was like the whole but she's at ringside, and she's like she'll jump out of the crowd. First time that's ever happened.
I like that. I also like that it was, her daughters got to see it.
Another
Like,
going back into the whole more records being broken. This is the first time that a first and second end up as the last two.
okay.
Again, first woman to win it from the first.
Yeah.
The men's rumble is the first time that a number 1 and number 30 have ever been the final two. So
Okay.
again, it's like all these different things. It's just like all these things that have never been done before. You didn't have to do all of them in the same rumble.
That's true. That's true.
That's the only feeling I get behind it. Is like they were so busy focusing on all the different firsts that they wanted to knock out, or all the different records that they wanted to knock out, that now it's just gonna be like in the years to come, we're gonna be talking about this rumble so much, and it's just gonna be like, oh, it's this stat again. Oh, it's this stat again. Oh, we're talking about this one again.
Yeah.
It's
Could
gonna
see
be
that.
it's gonna be a lot of overexposure in the future.
I also think that this was the first Rumble where you had an audible groan from the audience at who got the number 30 spot.
Oh, let's also talk about the botch on that.
Oh,
The
you mean
botch on
you,
that.
you mean when she came out at 29 and a half?
Yeah, where they accidentally played her music instead of the countdown. And
Yeah,
then
they
they're like,
played her.
shit, we got to play the countdown. And they started playing her countdown while the music's playing, and she's already walking out. And that
Yeah.
countdown gets to like 7, and they're like, all right, cut it. We've already
Yeah.
fucked it up.
So we were
What was
talking about the irresistible force, Nia Jax.
the ir- that irresistible force got a little bit more irresistible. I firmly believe, and this is not like to
You mean
weight
she
shame.
got more force?
Yeah, this is not to weight shame anybody or anything, but if the rumors are true and she is back, I am disappointed because it is visible that she did not work out before this match. She was very out of shape. She tried to she sandbagged Rhea when Rhea went up for that slam.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that
Rhea
was
turned it into a riptide anyway. She was like, "You're going up."
and she still struggled to get that riptide off.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like I get it that if you're not in shape for the match, like think about what Pat McAfee said. He didn't want to disrespect it by not going into that match while not in shape.
Correct.
I'm sorry, but Nia was visibly out of shape and unprepared for that match.
I bringing her back blows my mind. It doesn't make sense to me.
In the very least, even if just for that heel pop, it was a terrible
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to
and,
see her back. I'm sorry,
she's
she's
tr-
hurt too many. She
correct.
has
She's traditionally a not safe wrestler. I don't think that she's over with the crowd, and like I don't
She
think
has
that
X-Pac
she's got right. She has go away heat. It's
She
not
has
heat
go
for
away
being a heel. It's we don't want to see you.
And yeah, granted, they did the whole like everyone beating her down in the ring and focusing on her when she gets in. But at the same time, that's the same thing she did in the 2019 Men's Rumble.
Which was way better. Which was way better.
Honestly.
Seeing her eat a super kick, an RKO, and a 619, that was good.
It really was. And it made more
having
sense.
her come in and do the big monster, push everybody, throw everybody. Like we don't need that.
And especially, and again, going back into that, where where it looked like she was sandbagging Rhea. Someone of her size sandbagging Rhea, who was supposed to win this thing, potential
Right.
injury,
Right.
with a superstar that is.
On the rise.
Well, no, I'm talking about Nia here, a
Oh.
quote unquote superstar that is sandbagging and has a history of injuring her opponents.
Yeah.
That's a real risky play.
Absolutely.
Real risky play to have that happen.
Absolutely.
Rhea barely got that riptide off. It did not look good, and I
No.
very much blame Nia for that. Like, I want everything in the world for Nia to be successful because she is
Yeah.
still an NOI. I want to see that because then it doesn't completely bastardize it. But if she doesn't start putting it in, then she does look like
You can't rest on your laurels.
yeah. It
Your
looks like a
name's only going to
nepotism
carry you
hire.
so far.
It confirms the idea that you're a nepotism hire.
Yeah.
That
Your
you were
name is only
only
going to carry you so far.
yeah.
And if you don't have the skill and you don't have the connection with the fans, you're not going to go far. And like, do we think that Nia Jax is going to be getting a title belt or a title reign anytime soon? No.
Hell no.
No. There's so many better people in
So many more
general.
deserving people. That
Right.
have been
like,
putting in the work, that have been putting in the time. Like,
and like, where's she going to? Raw already has a monster heel with Rhea.
we got more than that now. Now we've got Piper. Look at the standoff we had between Piper Niven and
Returning
Tamina.
Piper Niven. Back to Piper Niven.
back to Piper Niven. Thank you.
Thank God.
Thank you.
I think she had a. I know she
had a
didn't
great
have any
showing.
eliminations. But I think that she had a good showing.
Did she not have any eliminations? I thought she had one or two.
No, she had no eliminations.
She still had a great showing.
She had a great showing, and like the Dewdrop character, that screams Vince McMahon.
100%.
Piper Niven screams Triple H.
I also think, and the rumors are still out there, that it may lead to Piper Niven and Nikki Cross as a tag team.
I'm over Nikki. I know this character change has to be it for her.
Well, that's the
one.
point of it, though, is that the fact that it's the two like dangerous Scottish women. That's like the big thing about it. Is like the Scottish connection, and it's them going right into just pure technicality, pure viciousness. You have Piper's power, Nikki's speed. I think I can get behind it, but I think that also right now is what you need to save Nikki. Either that or a Sanity reunion.
Yeah.
Right now, those are the only things that can save Nikki.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me back Big Damo.
Oh my God, that's the other thing too. Damo's a free agent. Eric Young, EY's a free agent now. Technically, Wolf's a free agent.
I think they could go without Wolf.
Even you can still bring back Wolf, and you still have a full Sanity reunion.
Yeah.
Either or.
So that's that's the women's Rumble.
To cover just because it's a natural segue on that, let's go ahead and cover as well last night's segment. Rhea chooses Charlotte.
Yeah,
as her
love
opponent.
that.
I love it
that.
too. So that was one of the big arguments that she even that she even talked about during the press conference too. It's just like when it came down to her decision, it's like I can either have this heated rival match with Bianca that everyone's waiting for, or I can get my win back over Charlotte.
Yeah,
and
get your win. And again, like Charlotte's gonna get 16 titles, so she's got to drop the title. Why not have you build Rhea up while you're doing that, and then you put Charlotte back on the chase?
I love it. Honestly, I do. And if anything, it justifies that whole slingshotting the title onto Charlotte the other month as soon as she came back. It honestly, it makes the best sense. You want to have your headline match at WrestleMania, that's your headline match. I have to agree because let's be real, Ronda was not going to be your headline. There was no way.
Nope.
She's not doing the numbers that everyone wanted her to.
She is not. Yeah, she is not what they thought and what they expected at all. At all. And I don't think Ronda takes it seriously. I don't think Ronda really wants to be there. I think she might have been like I think her initial run in 2018. I think she wanted to be there, and we saw a hell of a rookie year. I remember watching back then with you, and you and I both were like, she is taking to this like a female Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Like I remember us having those conversations, but I think this time, and then she went on her little fucking impregnation vacation or whatever the fuck she called it. And now, like, I don't think her heart's in it. I don't think she wants it. And I don't think she completely respects the business.
I still believe what would make her respect it, love it all, everything like that. And I think this is still what they're building to. I need to see that tag run with her and Shayna. I need it. I think
I'd rather get Becky versus Ronda.
No, I mean, I agree. We still need Becky versus Ronda. That still needs to be a thing. But I think that if you really want to establish some real dominance out of Ronda and still save her character, her and Shayna need to have that dominant tag team run that everybody wants out of them. Because you put the two of them in a tag team, put the belts on them, they will go on a dominant run. Just two MMA killers that are just out to just be like, we don't care. We're better than the both. The both of us are better than all of you. We will kick anybody's ass. I think if you put the tag titles on the two of them, you can make magic. And honestly, I think that's the only thing that can make anybody get behind Ronda right now, because you don't want to see her in either of the title pictures.
Yeah, and I'm ready for Rhea Charlotte at Mania.
Agreed.
I think that has the makings of a great match.
They didn't get what they wanted by the two of them having their match 3 years ago at the Pandemic Mania.
Right.
I think the two of them in front of a live crowd is going to blow the roof off.
Yep. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic, because who's going to be heel, who's going to be face?
That's the other thing too, because at this point they're both tweeners.
Yeah.
At this point,
I would argue Rhea is a straight up heel.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, there's no way the crowd is going to cheer Charlotte over Rhea that easily.
Not a chance.
They love mommy.
Yep.
They love mommy. Right now, Rhea is a heel, but at the same time, they love mommy.
You got 2 months to figure that out.
They got time. And if anything, the two of them can just have it be like a full-on, like, it doesn't matter who's heel, who's face, just have the two of them just brawling it out backstage like they have done every other build-up in the past.
Yeah.
The Charlotte Becky Ronda match, when that build up.
Yeah.
Give me more of that between Charlotte and Rhea. Just all out brawling backstage.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, congrats to Rhea. Deserved, earned, and again, I think WWE got both Rumble winners right.
Mm-hmm. Obvious choices are obvious. Take it and run.
Yep, and comparing to last year and the shit show that was the MMA Rumble,
the Shane Rumbles.
Yeah, I think they did great this year.
Yep,
which leads us to the main event.
Oh no! First, we do have to touch on one thing.
Oh, do we?
Unfortunately, there's one reason I want to touch on this. The reaction to that Hardy concert backstage. Have you heard any about that?
Not at all.
Everyone's scoffing. Everyone backstage is like, so we cut matches short for this shit?
Yeah.
That was not a good concert. We've seen plenty of concerts at premium live events before, and they've all been better than this. I literally, I just went back. I forget who I was telling. I think it was you guys. I was telling you. I was rewatching the 21 Rumble the other day. That was the one that had Bad Bunny coming out and singing Booker T.
Yeah.
That was a good concert. That was worth our time.
Yeah.
That Hardy shit won't hit.
During the Pat McAfee and Michael Cole interview, Pat was like, oh, we're going on to the main event. And Michael Cole was like, no, we have the concert yet. And McAfee looked at Cole and was like, you're putting a concert on before the Tribal Chief? Mm-hmm. He's like, these fans are not going to like it.
Nope.
And guess what? They did.
Liked it. That crowd was dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he got booed.
Mm-hmm.
He got booed.
He did.
And it didn't sound good. I don't know if that's because he's not good or if it's because they fucked his audio or I don't know. But that concert was not it.
It just wasn't it.
Not.
Nobody wanted
the Hardy return, nobody wanted.
Like the crowd, and the big thing about it too was that the news coming out of backstage was that nobody wanted it either, and people were actively like scoffing at it, just like we cut minutes off of Bianca Alexa for this, we cut minutes off of Bray and LA for that to potentially make a little bit more sense for this, and it was, I can see that argument, I can very much see that argument. If you're gonna have a concert, make it worth our time.
Yeah,
you went from Bad Bunny to Hardy.
I'd never heard of Hardy before Saturday.
Neither have I.
So,
like, you know me. I'm normally, like, I'm all about my music. I'm all about my music. And a lot of my music taste did come from growing up on the metal of the WWE. It's a thing. But that shit won't hit.
The best thing I've seen about the best thing I've seen about the Hardy performance was a comment on Reddit where they said, for those of you who don't know, Hardy is a country rock artist, and I love country rock shit. This was not country. This was not rock.
This was just shit. I saw that too. We have somebody that just redeemed a pull of vinyl, so let's go ahead and do this real quick. So one of the things we do here is that every time somebody raids in as well, I roll. You know how I have my Discogs with all my records in it.
Yep.
And I roll random to see one record anytime somebody asks to pull a vinyl. And we have, for this pull, this is one of those moments, Chris, where you would have to like pull up the feed to see what's going on. My camera's not on.
I trust you.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna do a great job.
It's not that big a deal. I'm just pulling my vinyl out to show it off.
I believe in you.
Don Broco's 2018 album, Technology, hit album. The map. I think I've shown you these. This is the album that I used to be like, yo, you got to see this music video all the time when we were at work. It would be like the most random shit. It's that album.
Okay.
So here's everybody here. Thank you, Zadon, for that redeem. Thanks again for the raid as well. So here's your album cover. And then this is actually, I believe, an out of 1,000. It is a mustard and black splatter. So here's what you're working with here. There you go. And honestly, I don't want to mess this one up too much because if anything, I'm pretty sure this is one of the albums I listen to the most out of everything, and God forbid any scratches on this one. So this is going immediately away so I don't fuck it up. I don't know if you just pulled up the feed or if you're looking at notes.
Me?
Yeah.
Notes.
Ah, okay. All right, so moving on past that. So let's go ahead now to the main event. And this Bloodline story is the best thing in wrestling, bar none.
Hands down.
Quite possibly in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And
since Austin McMahon.
Since Austin McMahon, I'd argue people are putting it on the same plane as Austin McMahon, as Hogan Savage, Brett Shawn. It's on that level at this point.
Yeah.
And
but the
Sammy,
storytelling involved.
And what?
The storytelling involved.
So people have pointed out that the storytelling that comes out of this match dates back farther than 2 years.
Yeah.
We go back that far because if you trace the roots of what happens, you go as far back. The storylines that go into this match go as far back as Jay first dissenting.
Yeah.
As main event Jay being the first dissenter against the tribal chief. And being the first one to stand up and be like, nah, this ain't how it is. That's not what family does.
I think that played into what happened at the end of the show.
Definitely played into it. So I saw a video that was floating around on Reddit as well. You might have seen it too. But it was a compilation of the entire story between Jay and Sammy, from Sammy first coming in contact with the Bloodline and just basically tracing their entire history all the way through to this weekend.
I have not seen that video yet.
It was really good. I'm gonna have to find it and send it to you.
Please.
But it basically it took like the shots of like all the times that Jay was doubting Sammy, and Sammy was just like, look, I'm trying to make peace, I'm trying to be good here, and like going all the way through to Jay like learning the good in people thanks to Sammy.
Yeah.
And then immediately cuts to what's left is this weekend's match and the heartbreak that gets involved. So for those of you that didn't see, in its most rudimentary forms, great match. Great. And then it comes down to a ref bump.
Some of those spots, man, that Kevin Owens slamming the back of his head into the steel steps. I still don't know how he pulled that off safely twice.
The ref bump. I mean, when they did the replay, I saw him put his hands back just in time when he slaps. It still looked ugly. And that's also a credit to KO being a damn good seller.
Yeah.
He sold the shit out of this.
I mean, the whole rest of the match, he was sitting there holding the back of his head.
And him like being stunned and like handcuffed to the rope. That was. The storylines that were built up here were just too perfect. And then, so it comes down to the ref bump. KO gets the fall. They get the count.
Pinfall.
Visual pinfall. The count goes. No ref. He gets up. Whole thing happens. Roman hits him with a low blow. calls for Sammy to give him a chair. Sammy hesitates. KO recovers, pop-up powerbomb, kicks out, and then that's where we just get the brutalization of Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
That's really the best way to put it, is the brutalization of Kevin Owens. And it gets to the point, match is over, they still continue to beat him down. Sammy says that's enough. Roman's like, no, you're going to take the shot with a chair.
Yeah, he's like, you don't need to do this. This is beneath you. You don't need to do this. And Roman's like, you know what? You're right. I don't need to do this. You do.
Mm-hmm. And shades of Seth Rollins hitting Roman Reigns in 2014. Sammy swings. What's that?
You can't forget the gaslighting. Roman telling Sammy, "Look what I've done for you."
That
this
too.
Is my
the
family.
Pushing him in the face and all that other stuff. Like, all that stuff is going just like literally like the berating that Sammy took before even swinging that chair. Like, you could see it, and they built it so perfectly that it's pure like Emmy level storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, they pushed him into it. The pop, well, that might have been one of the loudest pops I've ever heard. Straight up. They were even saying, like, Cole and Pat were saying it yesterday on the show. That might have been one of the loudest pops in an arena in history.
Yeah. Straight into "fuck you, Roman" chants.
It was beautiful. And Jay just looking shocked and not knowing how to react. It was perfect.
And if you go back and you rewatch that, you'll notice, like, almost immediately, Jimmy and Solo immediately start beating the shit out of Sammy.
It's an immediate. And it's Jay, but Jay's the first one.
That's crazy because Jimmy and Solo were his friends. They were the ones who believed in him the whole time.
And they were the ones that were like, oh, Jay, it's time.
He had to prove to Jay. And what happened? He finally proves himself to Jay. And what does Jay decide to do?
First thing, let's acknowledge the first thing that Jay does is start screaming at him, "Why did you do it?
Yeah.
What was that for?" And Sammy looking at him is like, "I'm sorry, but I love him like a brother." And that plays into it. It's just like, that's brotherhood. And it's just like, no, I'm sorry, but he's my brother. And as much as y'all's brother, I don't want to see this man lose his life. Get destroyed like this. It's not. It's already. It's done. It's over. You can call it.
Right.
All he's saying is it's enough. Spare the man's life. I do still have some love for him, like he's family.
Right.
In the same way.
20 years.
But think about that. Like, psychologically, we know I love to talk psychology. When you see back to everything that Jay's been through, having to spare himself with his fights, having to spare Jimmy during those fights. Yeah. How Solo has come into things, I think everyone's saying this is going to lead to KO, Sammy, and Jay teaming up against Jimmy, Solo, and Roman. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is Jay's going to be the one to run off and tell The Rock, and I think that's how they get The Rock. They have admitted that Rock is very busy. But they have never been fully non-committal about The Rock making 0 appearances anytime soon.
Correct.
I think, yes, The Rock doesn't make it to WrestleMania. I think we get Rock and Roman at SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. I like that.
Give us that at SummerSlam. Give us the fall from grace at WrestleMania, and then the Raw after, you give us The Rock to be like, not such a tribal chief anymore, huh?
Right.
Give me that. And then you can also, because then that also gives us the time for Jimmy and Jay to drop the titles fair and square, the right way. Then you can do Jimmy and Jay at SummerSlam as well.
Yeah. Give me that brother versus brother fucking one-on-one match.
Please. For the love of God, please.
Yep. I think the storytelling at the Rumble was bar none the best storytelling of the whole night.
Absolutely. Bar none has been the best storytelling of the past 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the trial of Sammy and Sammy finally proving that he was in the bloodline and he was there for the right reasons and everything, and now here we have
just for the sake of being a good person.
Right.
Just being a
Right.
good person. That's all it was doing.
I'm real interested to see where this ends up because there's so many questions still, like
Like I have no idea what to even predict for SmackDown this week because
yeah,
there's no there's endless solutions to how this is gonna go. And
Yeah.
like everyone was saying, we all predicted that this was gonna have to come to a head. We all saw it. It was like waiting for the season finale, waiting for that season finale, and just knowing that we're gonna have our heart broken. But them
Yeah.
throwing the whole monkey wrench of Jay into this is what keeps
Right.
things fresh and unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've spent a lot of time on the Rumble.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much covers the Rumble now. There's really nothing else that can be said about that main event without
Right.
going into all of the repercussions.
Repetition. Right.
So we're gonna have to wait until after SmackDown before we make any more decisions on the main event.
Correct. And then I think we do a quick little Raw review and call it a day.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I
So,
gotta
some
work
other things that we
for it.
haven't touched from Raw. If you want to knock some stuff out, you have the.
Oh, let me grab my I literally wrote down the show. Hang on.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, you have a notepad, don't you?
I sure do, but I left it in my other seat.
Happens.
Okay.
All right, so let's do some
So-
quick rundowns of some other stuff we didn't touch from Raw yet.
Opening promo from Cody. I missed that.
Yeah, like we mentioned that. The U.S. title. The qualifying matches for the U.S. title Elimination Chamber. First off, the Elimination Chamber being defended in the U.S. title being defended in the Elimination Chamber. I love it. We're trying to restore some more prestige to it. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Intercontinental Elimination Chamber from 2015. I don't think we're going to have that. I don't think we're going to have that. I think we're actually going to treat this right. Looking at who's already in the match, I love it already because obviously you've got Theory going in to defend the title. You've got Rollins going in by defeating Chad Gable.
That was our opening match of Raw last night.
And I can watch the two of them wrestle all day long.
Literally, my notes here, it says Seth versus Gable, solid match, as expected.
Mm-hmm. Like, I could watch the two of them go. And then, also coming out of the show, to touch on that, we had a backstage segment afterwards of Gable and Otis backstage, Maximum Male Models watching over them, and they're both like, Massey and Mansoir are both like, ew. Maxine's like, he's perfect. I love that they're getting Otis back into comedy.
Yep.
My
notes for that says, Maxine wants Otis. Can you blame her?
Hey, Mandy gonna have to fight over that one.
She ain't there.
She ain't there. She's making her millions.
So after the Seth and Gable match, we went into Candice LeRae versus Io Sky. Candice came out with Meech and Mia Yim.
They still can't make up their mind what her name is.
Right. I meant to write Sloppy Start, but I wrote Sloopy. Sloopy Start.
So you had a Sloopy start too.
I had a Sloopy Start.
Cool.
My other notes, so I wrote Sloppy Start. After that, I wrote Sloppy Throughout. And then my last note is meh.
I have to agree. They need to figure out what's going on with that. And granted, I think there's reports as well that Dakota's injured, and that's why they did the whole thing with her and her leg later on in the show with Becky. We'll get to that though.
So after the Candice and Io match, you did touch on. You already touched on this. It was the Rhea promo saying she was going for Charlotte. But I did write something here that I want to note because we already talked about it. Mm-hmm. I wrote a good promo from Rhea, but it was not a heel promo.
Very true.
Because as you said, they're not going to cheer Charlotte over Rhea.
No.
So I did think that that's worth noting is that it was a good promo, but it was not a heel promo.
Absolutely.
Then after that, we go to Seth Rollins backstage. They asked him about him being eliminated by Logan Paul, and he walks off camera.
So they're building that up. And again, I wouldn't mind seeing because I know there's a lot of discussion about who Logan Paul is going to face at WrestleMania. He has to have a match at Mania.
Has to.
Absolutely. He's too good. He's too good for them to keep him off the show.
Yeah.
And he's too much of a crossover star. Honestly, after that match he had at Crown Jewel against Roman, give me more, please.
I agree.
Please.
I agree. I think Logan Paul took to wrestling very naturally. I think he's a good wrestler. And I said it during the Rumble stream, and I'll say it again. He has the best buckshot lariat in professional wrestling.
Adam Page be damned.
I said what I said, and I meant what I said.
No, you're not wrong. He was so smooth with that. He made it look real good.
So after Seth backstage, we go into Gargano versus Corbin. And Gargano comes out with Dexter Lumis, which would play into it later.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that was really of note was that with Pat McAfee coming back, immediately upon Baron Corbin walking into the ring, bum-ass Corbin chants filled the arena.
Absolutely. I had completely forgotten about that. But it adds to that heelness for Corbin. And I like the fact that they're really starting to build Corbin up as this heel. Like this shitlord heel just because he's paired up with JBL and JBL's healing it up as well. I think honestly, like I didn't like it at first. I think this pairing is going to work really well to really get Corbin a lot more heat. But at the same time, like, see, here's the thing. I like Corbin. I really do like Corbin.
I do too.
He's a great. He does his job the right way.
Give him anything and he gives it 100%.
Yes. I feel like we're at a point where he's spinning wheels too.
Possibly. And can we get JBL some good fitting pants, please?
What'd you call him last night? Public defender pants?
Public defender pants. If you go to court and you have a public defender and his pants look like JBL's pants last night, you're going to jail. That's a fact.
Where's the lie?
Right.
Where's the lie?
So we get a standard heel beatdown before the babyface comeback, which I feel like that's the formula for all Gargano matches. Mm-hmm. He's an incredible seller. He's good at getting his ass kicked and then making the comeback. But do you want to touch on what led to Gargano winning the match?
So JBL goes to interfere, and Loomis kind of steps in between and pulls out a hatchet, which is kind of par for the course for Loomis these days, but just why? I mean, don't get me wrong. The visual of him taking the hatchet and digging it into JBL's hat, and that being enough of a distraction for Johnny Gargano to get a roll-up win, it's not an ideal way to build people up.
No, because I think it goes back to, it becomes Chekhov's hatchet. And it goes back to when Drew McIntyre had the sword. We know they're never going to use that on an opponent.
Or like Bray's hammer back in the day.
Right. Like, we're never actually going to see any payoff from that weapon.
Right. I
can agree. Why even introduce it to begin with?
I can agree. And they get like this. I get like how they're trying to like do his entire character, like with the whole like spooky, like I'm like the stalker, mysterious murder man. Like I get that, right. But we all know that gimmick has legs.
Yeah.
And those legs are only going to go so far.
Mm-hmm. So after that, that's our last match for a while.
Oh yeah, because then we had a long stretch of like promos and shit.
Long stretch. So we go into the VIP lounge with MVP, and his special guest for the night was Theory.
That went way too long.
Way too long.
Very boring.
But there is one thing of note in there, and I believe we touched on it. It goes back to, I think we're going to get Cena Theory at Mania, because here's a direct quote from Theory. At one point he goes, "I have the ruthlessness that this era needs, and no aggression can stop me."
Yep. They're definitely still going into that whole like feeding into the idea of him facing Cena, which
he said the champ is here.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like it because they have been teasing it for the longest, and then for a while people were talking Cena, Logan Paul. But honestly, if you go back now that we have Logan Paul, Seth Rollins being built up, we can go back to Cena Theory. I like both of those for Mania.
I agree.
I like both of those for Mania. Give me it. I can see that's what they're building up to, and they were trying to do that as well to build heat for... I think that was also designed to build heat for our Bobby and MVP working together again. Is the Hurt Business back together? Because there's still a lot of yes or no there.
Well, so funny you mentioned that because, Theory talks shit about Lashley, and Bobby comes out.
and Bobby puts the boots on him, beats him up, and Theory's beat down, and MVP, as you stated while we were watching, he takes his cane and lifts Theory up, up under his chin to get him up on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And Lashley takes off, and as he takes off, Theory grabs the cane, pulls MVP close, and Bobby ends up spearing MVP.
Not gonna lie, that was a great spot. I thought because I mentioned I was just like, that's really like smart. He's doing the whole like that's really like cheeky how he's doing the whole like lift him up with the cane, lift him up by the throat with the cane. And I was just like, ooh, we're getting like that, okay. But then then Theory counters by using the cane to pull MVP into range. Both of those were perfectly done. It was picture perfect. I think they did a great job with those, and it fit everything perfectly. It made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, and then it further teases, and on top of that, it also further teases. Are Bobby and MVP really working together, or are they at odds and ends? What's going on?
Right, because then the commentators said, how will this affect the relationship between MVP and Lashley?
Let's not forget also that MVP is still technically sponsoring Omos. Omos is still in the picture.
Yeah, and anybody with eyes obviously knows that Bobby was going for Theory. Mm-hmm. So for MVP to try and say otherwise is going to be a little bit contrived. But it's WWE, so
what would you say to a reformed Hurt Business with Omos?
I like it. I think Shelton Benjamin is one of the most underused superstars that they have. I mean, that man,
him and Cedric
is
both
incredible. And Cedric, yes, and bro, I love Cedric's.
Side note: I went back and rewatched the Cruiserweight Classic a couple weeks ago. And it still holds up. Cedric's Cedric's match against Ibushi still holds up.
Yeah, and I love the lumbar check. I think it's a great finisher.
Agreed.
So after the VIP lounge, we get Judgment Day backstage. Just standard heel stuff. But one thing of note is, Finn says like, "This I started this. This I started this." Finn, you didn't start this, by the way.
No.
That's not. That's very, very old.
He's just lucky he works in the E right now and can do that without getting sued.
Right, but Finn says that Cody's been stealing from him, and tonight he comes to collect. Leading to our main event of Finn versus Cody.
I get that they were trying to do the whole Cody quote unquote took over the Bullet Club. At the
Words
time.
are hard.
What's that?
Words are hard.
Well, no, I said that because I'm actually wearing my Bullet Club shirt. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense because in reality they're trying to go off the whole, oh, Cody tried to do the whole Bullet Club thing, but when I made it, and it's just another one of those we're cheekily making references to the Bullet Club when we can't actually say Bullet Club.
Right.
So.
Which is exactly why Gallows and Anderson are called the OC, or called the Club.
Exactly.
Like, yeah,
they can only do so much with it.
Cheeky ways around trademarks. That's all that is. Next, we get a Miz promo. Miz comes out and he's upset. I believe you said he was basically pulling the Dolph Ziggler. It should have been me.
Yep, I did say that.
No, he's saying that he had to go in at number 3 after Gunther and Sheamus. He ends up being the first one eliminated, and blah 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 blah. Pierce comes out and basically is like, you know what, you're right. I got somebody here who's willing to have a match with you, and we get a return. And
this return, this return, I popped, admittedly.
Yeah. I popped it first, but my opinion quickly changed with the segment we'll get to later on.
Mm-hmm.
We got Rick Boogs back.
Good old Boogs.
We got Rick Boogs.
I love me some Boogs.
Comes out doing his air guitar and his air drummer and his... he literally looks like a strong man from a 1950s circus.
He looks like a Freddie Mercury on steroids.
He's literally the definition of a barrel-chested man.
Exactly. And apparently, like, somebody was pointing this out. I was watching a review earlier. He's gotten bigger. Man's gotten bigger while he was gone.
Oh,
Like he got even more jacked. But here's my thing too, is that they go into an impromptu match and Miz is like, I can't wrestle, I'm in a suit. And
$10,000 suit.
$10,000 suit, and it just becomes this whole please don't hurt me in my suit. But I also want to point out that Boogs' finisher is still that overhead military press.
Yeah.
I don't care how much bigger.
Not only is it a military press, but it catches them on the way down.
Yeah. I'm sorry. He's going to hurt himself doing that. He needs to find a new finisher and fast. Because the minute the Miz is small in comparison to him, it is easy to do that. Let's not forget what got Boogs put on the shelf in the first place was a feat of strength that he failed at.
Correct.
So if he keeps trying to do these feats of strength, he's going to end his career before it ever gets started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree.
We got to find something else.
We got more Boogs to talk here shortly. After the Miz promo was when we got the Alpha Academy with the Maximum Male Models. Then we have Bayley coming back out because Bayley came out during the Io and Candice match. And, basically she runs down Becky, talks about how she eliminated her at the Rumble. The story is done. And then lo and behold, just like magic, you mention someone's name and they come out.
I even said it was going to be like, watch, Becky's going to come out, and it's going to push that feud even further. And we get one of the most savage lines out of Bayley.
Go ahead.
I was going to let you take that one.
The saying that she's not good enough for WWE. She's not even good enough for her husband. And the only reason he married her was because he knocked her up.
Becky looked visibly in tears in that moment.
She looked upset.
She looked legitimately upset in that moment. And when she's like, and here I was thinking it was all about wrestling this entire time, kind of teasing into this whole, maybe Bayley wanted Seth all along and this kind of thing, and like a little bit of jealous. I could see them playing that. But then Becky does something I wasn't expecting. And she's like, no, I'm getting my match back. I'm getting that match that I didn't get.
Right, she runs down how they didn't have the steel cage match last week, and Bayley,
Bayley says no.
Yeah. We also have to point out that they tried to do the Bayley calls Becky by her real name thing.
The Rebecca.
She calls her Rebecca, says, I don't like you, Rebecca. And I think that's so cheap.
I think it is.
I think it's cheap when, when they used to do it all, like when CM Punk and Triple H used to call each other Phil and Paul.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
You really don't. You don't need to do it, especially when you're especially because Becky and Rebecca, it's it's already
right.
You're not making as big of a.
It's not like her name is Cynthia and we call her Becky Lynch. You know what I mean? Like her name being Rebecca Lynch is just as feasible as it being Becky Lynch.
Yeah, you're not doing that big of a dig by calling her Rebecca. But I will still admit that he only married you because he knocked you up line. There was that was a visible oof moment. That line gave me shades of Baby Brother Reed.
Ooh.
It gave me shades of Baby Brother Reed.
Ooh.
If we're being honest.
Making it a little too real.
Yeah, it was it felt a little bit too real in that moment. Especially when Becky looked as visibly angry as she did. But so then Becky turns it into the whole our journey started in NXT in Orlando. How about next week in Orlando we finish it with that steel cage match we never had? Bayley says no. Becky's like, well, I thought you'd say that. So she goes backstage, drags Dakota out by her hair with a chair wrapped around her ankle.
Yep.
That was beautiful.
Yep.
That I enjoyed.
And she used that to get what she wanted.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Oh, and you might want to go check on your girl Io backstage." Also perfectly done, because then it's just nope. Becky came out heated, and she came out prepared. So
she's ready. Yeah, she was ready.
Yeah, it changed a lot of things around. So from there we get into the next match, which was before that we get a pre-match promo. Bronson Reed versus Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler's backstage with, I think it was Kathy Kelly. And Mustafa Ali comes in.
Oh, it was Byron.
Oh, it was Byron. That's right. And Mustafa Ali comes in and basically takes over the interview and just starts running Ziggler down. I like that they're continuing this feud.
Yep.
I like that they used this to put Bronson Reed over. I like that Bronson Reed immediately got removed from that Miz storyline.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot
me
of
too.
things right with this. They're pushing
Me too.
Ollie and Ziggler, which I still like. That's a great like rivalry to have where no one's involved, where there's no titles involved. It can just be a nice, good grudge match. And I like that we're building the matches like that.
Correct. But before we get into that match, we had Pierce come out. Or not come out, but a backstage thing with Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing he does is he's like, I have 2 announcements.
Oh, that's right.
First next week, Bex versus Bayley in a steel cage match is now official.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So we are getting that next week on Raw. And then they announced, and we touched on this briefly, they announced the Elimination Chamber #1 contender for Bianca, saying that, well, we know Rhea's going to pick Charlotte, so what does that mean for Bianca? So they said the final 5, like you said, the final 5, because Rhea won, so the next 4 women remaining had already earned their spot in the Elimination Chamber match, which means that we are going to get Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Nikki have already qualified.
Mm-hmm. Which
So
is
that means
already a
4
solid
to 6.
4.
Right. And then they say that next week we're going to get a fatal 4-way match to determine one of the other entries. That fatal 4 match is going to be between Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, Piper Niven, and a returning Carmella.
And honestly, I like that. I don't like the fact that you're going to put Candice and Mia in the same ring against each other when they've been trying to build up this whole like friendly like partnership that they've got going on. I like that we're giving Piper a spotlight. I actually like Piper to win that match.
Yep.
And Carmella, a proper Carmella return. Honestly, I'm glad to see her back. All things considered, her return, it's bittersweet. It's a real shame that she was gone for everything, but you know why she was gone, right?
No.
Miscarriage. It's
hate
unfortunate,
that.
but yes.
Thoughts and prayers to her.
I don't know if that's like too much to say or whatever, if that's improper, but no, that's what it is. It's good to see her back. It's good to see. I know she took a lot of time away for her mental health and that. I know that was really playing on Graves a lot as well. So like,
good for her for getting the help that she needed.
No, absolutely. So it is good to see her come back. Whether she comes back face or heel, I couldn't really tell. She just had that one. It seemed like she was being pretty face, but then it was like a little bit of a heel reaction when Asuka walked up.
Correct.
So it was kind of hard to determine which way she's going with that.
Right. I think Carmella is just a natural heel. I feel like her gimmick is that of a natural heel.
I agree. But I did very much enjoy her babyface run.
I did too. So that gives us 2 matches that we already know about next week, and then right before we get into the match, as Pierce was finished announcing our Elimination Chamber, is when we get Karen Green. I mean Chelsea Green.
How long did you have that planned out to say?
Honestly, I actually just thought of that.
Okay, well, that was a good one.
I just thought of that, to be honest with you. But we already touched on that. She has to speak to the manager. She says there's no spring water in her. She doesn't have a private dressing room. There's no spring water. There's no Swiss chocolate. And I'm really curious to see where they go with this. I love what you said earlier. Love what you said earlier about how I'm going to get my husband. I'm going to return my doorbell. I love that. But for now, it's basically just she had her quick rumble elimination. And now she's just doing Pierce. And anybody that knows Pierce is good in my book.
I agree. This is already. I feel like, especially them having been on the books for the past couple months to work on this character, I think it's gonna go do wonders. It's definitely gonna make up for her past 2 runs that she had on the main roster that went nowhere. It's definitely gonna make things easier to make sure she doesn't get injured again. Knock on wood. But yeah, like I think it's a great character move, and I think it has some legs, and I'm ready to see where it goes.
Yeah. So now, finally, back to wrestling. You get Dolph versus Bronson.
We already covered that.
Oh, the match hasn't even started yet, technically.
Well, yeah, but like I covered it in that Bronson got a pretty quick squash out of it.
Yeah, that's literally what I wrote. It was a glorified squash, and Bronson won.
Literally
Next,
a
and
squash,
something
because that
I
tsunami is beautiful.
It is. It is. And next, something I pointed out to you last night, we got a graphic that said Bianca Belair next.
And then it got cut for time.
And Bianca never came out.
Yeah. Apparently got cut for time.
So then next we go backstage, and we've got Boogs, Dawkins and Montez and Elias all backstage. And so we're gonna get Dawkins next week. We're gonna get Dawkins versus Damian Priest and Montez versus Elias. The winners of those matches are gonna go on to the Elimination Chamber for the U.S. champion. But during that, Boogs cut another promo about how he's back, and he screamed into the microphone. The mic's peaked, and in my notes I wrote, Boogs really has a shelf life.
Yeah, very much so.
I don't see this being a long-term gimmick.
No. I want to take a note to acknowledge this real quick. Thank you, Stickles, for 18 months subscription. Steel Stickles is my wrestling persona. I come to the ring with Steel Reserve taped to my hands. God damn it, Brian. Also, I don't know why the alert didn't go off, but again, since this is recording, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I agree. Boogs has a shelf life. A very short shelf life.
Yeah.
It will expire quickly, and especially the fact that they took him away from Shinsuke, which I thought was a beautiful pairing.
Yeah.
I thought they really had it going.
Strong style matching with pure strength. Love that.
And just the fact that he had the energy to like
Doobie.
the fact that he was just putting in the energy to like really accentuate how extravagant Shinsuke's entrance is. I loved that. So to put him out on his own, I get that he needs to grow his own legs and figure it all out. And I think it's interesting. Somebody pointed out that having him kind of meeting Elias right out the gate, you got the two guitarists.
Yeah.
Like having a face-off. I don't know if that leads to a partnership or if that leads to a feud. Either way, it's something. It's something. I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's something for them to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that Boogs, his shelf life for his gimmick is very similar to that of Ezekiel's gimmick. Here for a good time, not a long time.
You're definitely establishing your lower mid card here.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's okay.
Yep.
Again, that's
and
okay.
One other thing of note from this segment was, and it popped me big, I thought it was hilarious, was Montez calling it the Us Championship.
That's the other thing too. So let's also address that Pierce, while he's there, I don't even think it was Pierce that was there, but somebody comes in and addresses. I think it was Byron. Wasn't it Byron?
I think it was too.
Yeah, I think it was Byron that comes in and addresses it. And he's like, well, just so you know, the last two spots in the chamber match are going to be determined next week. We're going to get Dawkins versus Priest. We're going to get Dawkins versus Priest, and then we're going to get Montez versus Elias. And I like how that's looking, because that could go any way. Those are four. Again, the Street Profits, they've definitely like stood up a lot more.
Dawkins has
improved so much. Tez is still amazing. We got a Stickles here. Chris, you look great. Love you and miss you, brother.
Love you, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that either one of them moving on. Priest getting into the chamber, I think is a great shout too. I kind of take him. Right now, I'm taking him over Docs.
And Tez over Elias.
Yeah, and that gives us an opportunity to see a little bit of Ford as a single star, which everyone's been clamoring for.
I'm ready for it.
Without having to diminish Dawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to break them up.
No, we don't need to break them up.
No.
And we also know that there's no way Tez is going to win that match. So.
Yeah. And that leads us into our main event. Which was Cody Rhodes versus the Prince, Finn Balor.
And honestly, great match.
Agreed.
Shocked that it was a first-time match.
Yeah,
actually, not shocked. Not shocked when you think about it, because the paths just never crossed. He was in NXT. he was in NXT when Cody left.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the match never happened.
Yep.
But
Yep.
honestly, a great first time match that I loved seeing. The two of them, they really matched well in the ring with each other. I think we're overbooking it with by bringing in the whole Edge and Beth Phoenix thing, but I get that they're still trying to build Edge versus Finn.
Strong agree.
But I feel like they could have at least separated that out. We didn't need, because that was the other thing too at the opening segment, as well. After like they had their little like face off, and then Cody says, "I'll face any one of you three tonight," and like music is playing, and they're already showing like the adverts for the rest of the show, and then while the Judgment Day is still standing on the ramp, Edge and Beth Phoenix come out and jump them, and it turns into a brawl. I forgot to mention that.
Okay.
And so when Edge and Beth Phoenix come out later in the show to interrupt the match and cause another brawl, it's just like, okay, I get it. We're pushing this whole thing, but we're going about it all the wrong ways.
Yeah. So during the match, you had Judgment Day ringside, you had Priest, you had Dom, you had Rhea, all ringside.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point Cody gets dumped over the ropes, and he's cornered by Judgment Day. Edge comes out through the crowd. Edge takes out Priest and ex-con Dom. And Beth comes out. She takes out Rhea. And then they all disappeared. After they all brawled on the outside for a little bit, they all just kind of disappeared and went to the back. And then we get to go moving on with our match with Cody and Finn. And I told you last night, I said, I have something to say about this match, but I'm going to save it for the stream because I wanted to get your genuine reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good match, but in my opinion, they should be making Cody look strong. I don't think having him go 30 minutes with Finn, having Edge come out to make the save, Beth come out to make the save. Now, that's just over convoluted and doing a lot, and I get it. But having him go 30 minutes with Finn, like, yo, we're supposed to be building Cody up to take on Roman Reigns, a man who has not lost in over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like having him go 30 minutes with Finn, and Finn had a lot of good offense.
It was designed to give Finn a push. I get that. It was designed to give Finn a little bit of Cody's rub. But I completely agree with you. Again, adding Edge and Beth Phoenix into this match definitely liquefied the importance of it. It definitely it gave us a little bit of diminishing returns because of that. And yeah, we definitely like took a hit because of that.
I agree.
Cody does look a little bit weaker in turn, which diminishes the fact that you gave them 30 minutes, that you gave them so much time at the end of the show. But again, like if you're using so much of that time on adding in Edge and Beth Phoenix, you're taking away a little bit of the importance of Cody getting that single win.
Yeah, I agree. And like, he just had this incredible showing. Well, he had a showing at the Rumble. I wouldn't quite call it incredible. He came out at number 30.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a great mini match with Gunther at the end, and he won. And that's your Royal Rumble winner. And it's not one of those situations like we've had in years past where you can choose, all right, I'm going to face the Raw champion, or I'm going to face the SmackDown champion. Like, no, it is Cody versus Roman. There is no question about that. There's no dispute about that. Like, and right now, Roman, yeah, I understand the bloodline is fractured, and we don't know what's going to happen, and they're showing some cracks in the armor there, but you got to build Cody up. He's been gone for 9 months.
Absolutely.
And like he's got to be strong. Like he wants to win the belt. His father never could, but they've got to make it realistic.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry, but going 30 minutes with Finn and being saved by Edge and the Glamazon, that's not projecting I'm the undisputed champion material.
It really, that is a great argument. You are 100% right.
Like, I'm also not saying it should have gone out there and been a squash necessarily, but you know what they could have done? They could have not cut Bianca's time, let Bianca go out there and do whatever she was going to do,
mm-hmm.
and then have them have a 10-minute match.
No, I agree. And then you could still get enough relevant storyline information out of it, and you protect Cody a little bit more.
Right. And what you could have, and you still could have had Edge and Beth be involved. You make it a 10-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
You have Judgment Day come out, and then you have Edge and Beth immediately come out, chase him off the ramp, run to the back, and then we get a one-on-one Cody versus Finn for the last 10 minutes of Raw.
It even makes more sense that the Judgment Day would immediately cut to the heel tactics and try and do that kind of stuff right from the outright instead of letting him and Finn go for 10, 15 minutes beforehand.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I completely agree.
I think we need we need a couple Cody squash. I think a good way to get Cody over is squash matches. I think another really good way to get Cody over, have him run a gauntlet match.
Not a
We
bad
haven't seen a
move.
gauntlet match in a while, off the top of my head. And putting Cody in a gauntlet match and having him face 4 to 5 other superstars and run the gauntlet.
Now, the only problem I have with that is that you're leaning a little bit too much into the MJF product at that point. With the whole, like, oh, if you want to face me, you have to go through this gauntlet first.
I'm not even saying that you have to do. I'm not saying that.
No, I get that, but it's towing the line. You know what I mean? It is towing the line a little bit.
I mean, just he needs he should beat like he needs to beat like Bobby, or he needs to beat somebody in the upper card right now, because we know we're not getting him versus Roman until Mania.
No, absolutely.
Like there's no
and they even make the comments about how like he's been so cautious that even so much as mention the bloodline or say Roman's name. He's just like he's not even trying to put that energy out there right now because he's got bigger fish to fry until then.
Right. So I mean, they've got to do something in these next 2 months to make him look strong.
Absolutely.
They've got to do something, and I mean, who knows? Like this, there's still a lot of people still want to see Sammy versus Roman. Mm-hmm. That do we turn it into a triple threat? Because I pitched it to you yesterday. You have Cody and Sammy get a double pin on Roman at Mania, and each of them wins a belt.
And that's also the other argument. Like a lot of people are saying the idea of like a 2 out of 3 falls for that, and whoever gets the first fall gets the first belt. Whoever gets the second fall gets the second belt. And like I've heard that theory being thrown around too. I don't like it, but I can see it.
I don't like that.
I don't personally. I still think
because then that eliminates the third fall.
No, I agree. Well, it'd just be a 2-fall match in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, what I want to see Sammy Roman night 1. I want to see Cody Roman night 2. And the reason I say that, and I've been saying this for a long time, I think that Roman's reign, like obviously, like I was saying long before that this was going to be a record-setting reign for Roman, and it has.
Yeah.
The minute they went with this whole tribal chief thing, I was like, this is going to be a reign that lasts a long time, and it has. And they've built it up perfectly. They've used the fact that they want to keep the title on him for so long to make him like still keep him involved, but put him in other storylines that are more major. Like having this whole bloodline thing going on is a good way to artificially increase the size of that reign while still keeping everybody in tune with the story.
Yep.
He hasn't had to have that many title defenses, but he's still been the center of attention while this whole bloodline thing has been going on. And that's exactly what you want in order to make this run last as long as it has. What day are we on? Do you happen to know? I know it's like in the 800s.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm looking it up right now. We are at 884 days.
So he's not going to get to 1,000.
What's that?
He's not going to get to 1,000.
Now, here's the thing, right? And because here's my thing, and when the title reign first started years ago, when we first started talking about this, I was the one that was saying this could be a 1,000-day reign. 1,000 days from now is before SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So, in reality, if they split the titles and he drops the WWE title to Cody on night 2, he could still keep the Universal title over Sammy at Mania. And then that could still free it up to have Kevin and Sammy go after the tag belts, let them finish that story out, but you still get Sammy versus Roman on the big stage. You save Roman losing the Universal to somebody else until after SummerSlam, and that becomes a 1,000-day reign. If he doesn't keep the WWE Championship, that doesn't ruin his 1,000-day reign with the Universal.
Correct.
but you could still have somebody beat him and it be the first signs of cracking, as well as everything else that's been going on, the first signs of cracks in the bloodline that is making the tribal chief fall.
Correct.
You can still make that reign, break the 1,000-day reign mark, and have him drop it at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that justifies everything I've been saying for the past 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, needless to say, man, we are literally in the best part of the football season and the best part of wrestling season.
Absolutely.
You know, we've got the Super Bowl in less than 2 weeks. We've got Mania in 2 months. Like, this is the time to be a wrestling and a football fan.
Absolutely. What are we going to do when football's over? We'll be focusing a lot on the off season, but hey, that's what we do. All right. Before we go, there is one other thing I want to touch on, and that is we need to talk tomorrow night's AEW.
Okay.
Just real quick, they've given us a short rundown. Let's talk about some of these matches that we got. We got Darby versus Samoa Joe in a no holds barred match.
Okay.
I'm here for it. We have a TBS title match between Jade Cargill and Red Velvet. That we know Jade's gonna win that one.
Yep.
We're getting the reason again. I brought up the MJF storyline about having to run the gauntlet in order to face him. We're still in the middle of Bryan Danielson doing the same thing, and this week we get the AEW not the debut. I don't think. I think this is his second time coming on. Timothy Thatcher.
Really?
Yeah. Have you not seen that? Bryan Danielson is facing Timothy Thatcher tomorrow night.
All right.
We're getting Hangman versus Moxley tomorrow night.
All right.
Can't go wrong there. The Acclaimed are in action. And we're getting Takeshita versus Brian Cage. Again,
all right.
I feel bad because I want to get more back into AEW, but I work Wednesday nights, so it makes things a little difficult. I usually just end up catching reviews. But
same. I Wednesdays are a pretty busy day for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really fallen off of since moving to Florida. I don't think I've watched any AEW. To be honest,
which is ironic when you consider you're in Florida and you're not that far away from Duval.
I know,
but they also aren't doing daily. They also aren't doing weekly shows at Daily's Place anymore. So
right,
it's different.
And it's you know, look, like I'm a wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I enjoy the WWE style. I enjoy the WWE product.
This is also,
not knocking AEW because I did it. I went to their first ever show. You were there with me.
Yeah, we were there. We were there at the very first Dynamite.
You know, but I think that it's a great alternative.
This is a WWE heavy week. That's just all it is. This is a very WWE heavy week with it being Rumble week. I'm sure as more things start popping up in AEW, we'll have more to talk about. But
for sure,
at least I wanted to touch on what's going on Dynamite. We don't really know too much for SmackDown yet. I know they're going to cover.
But we do know that the Bloodline addresses the Rumble.
Oh, 100%. That's obviously going to be happening because it didn't get touched on last night. So that's going to be like the central focus on Friday night.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for us this week. This has been a hell of a first episode.
Absolutely.
We're going to try and do this. Let's focus. What do you think? Tuesdays?
Tuesdays work.
This feels like a great thing for Tuesdays. We'll be doing this weekly, bringing all the sports and wrestling news that you can handle in this time frame. We're going to try and do breakdowns like this every week. Thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for checking us out. If you like what you see, leave us a like, a subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that shit. I'm still getting new to all the YouTube side of this stuff. This is going up on YouTube as well. Thanks everybody for coming out. And yeah, that's going to do it for us.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.